Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Luka one-on-one against Max Christie, driving toward the bucket. Luka got there, throws up a reverse. Good, and he's got 40. 40 points for Luka Doncic in his return to Dallas.
Welcome in, Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie is out today. EJ Stewart is in the big chair, and I think I heard it there, EJ, in the background. Yeah, it was cheering. I can't remember a situation where a home crowd was cheering against their own team for a star who left. It was a Luka party last night in Dallas. The fans were all about Luka Doncic. You know, in Philly, they would have booed him every time he touched the ball. Instead, they cheered him every time he touched the ball, and he just went off against the Lakers. 45 points, seemed to do whatever he wanted. Lakers win, a key game for them because they're trying to get up in the Western Conference seeding, 112-97. Do you remember a situation like this, EJ, where the home crowd does not care about their own team and just rooting for their former star?
I can't think of one. Maybe there was a player who maybe at the end of his career, you know, Klay Thompson, I think when he went back to Golden State, they were all the Captain Clay hats, and there was a lot of, cheering for him. But I didn't. There was not the vitriol for the Warriors during that game where you're chanting "Fire the general manager." Mike Dunleavy.
Yeah.
They weren't doing that. They were just cheering Clay, but then they were very, of course, cheering for the Warriors. This was different. This was, I am cheering Luka Doncic, and I'm booing fire Nico, or that's bound will be his name, Nico Harrison. We're chanting fire Nico, and we're going to be very negative in that aspect of it. It was a very, very bizarre situation, and it's one that I think we'll never forget. To me, Pearl, I've never seen a player get traded, especially in the prime of their career, and be so emotional in a tribute. Like Luka, he was crying on the court. He scored a bucket. And he was still in tears.
Yeah, no, I mean, when you smoke all that hookah and drink all that beer, as the Mavericks claim Luka did, you tend to be an emotional guy. The announcer said J.J. Redick was crying too. I was surprised by that. I'm not sure why.
I don't know why.
Everybody seemed to be into it, and the Mavericks defense seemed to be into it too. They kind of laid out the red carpet for Luka from the opening tip. So I can't remember a trade not only this bad. I mean, we could talk about that. We'll get into the history of bad trades later in the show. But I can't remember a trade that we knew the verdict so fast. The fire Nico chants, the Mavericks GM, are so obvious. I mean, we're a month and a half past this thing, and it's already done. There's no debate. Usually these things play out over a course of time. Is there any chance that the Mavericks didn't get all-time fleeced here?
Well, that chance went out the window when Kyrie Irving got hurt, I think. Because I think that was the mantra that was coming from Dallas. It's like, well, we're still in a win-now mode because we have Anthony Davis, who's a champion, and Kyrie Irving, who was playing great this year and has been a model citizen, so to speak, with the Dallas Mavericks, and is also a champion. So we think, well, forget about Luka Doncic. A Kyrie Anthony Davis combo, in theory, also is a title contending team. Once he tore his ACL, that went out the window, and now you're looking at a Kyrie Irving who's in advanced age, who's not going to have to come back from that injury, and Anthony Davis, who's already been battling injuries all of this season. To me, last night he didn't look spry or right at all. Like there is no good side to this for the Dallas Mavericks. There's no way to spin it. There's no way to frame it in any way to say maybe this will be okay. This is a nightmare.
Yeah, I still don't understand. I mean, we've gotten nowhere in this discussion. I guess I understand saving money because they didn't want to pay Luka, and you get into a sort of luxury tax situation. But what do you want to be as a team? Are you fully going to tank? I don't think you're bad enough to be a number one pick kind of team, but you're not good enough to even be a factor in the loaded Western Conference.
Which is why I think the conversation then shifts to what does it mean for Luka Doncic being on this Laker team in his future? Because the bet the Dallas Mavericks made was not just that maybe we could salvage something with Kyrie and Anthony Davis. It was also that Luka Doncic and what he is as a player, what he is as a leader, what he is in terms of his work ethic, that those things would fail and you would never win a title with that guy. So that becomes the question is, can Luka, in these years with the Lakers, win a championship? Because that's the only thing that Dallas will be able to hold their hand on. There's nothing that's going to happen in Dallas that's going to justify this. But they can maybe point to what's going to happen in LA and say, see, second year he got hurt, or third year he was fat, or whatever. And that's going to be the conversation moving forward.
Well, Luka, who's 26, already looks like he lost 15 pounds and is the best shape of his life. I mean, he looked svelte last night. You know what happens when you get to L.A. You visited L.A. You just get into the fitness culture immediately. You can't help it. Everyone is tan and fit. I think that happened to him, and I think that's going to happen to him. So the Mavericks betting against him being in shape, I think that is going to fail. I think he's going to be in good shape in L.A. Now, listen, you and I have had many, many arguments about Luka's style.
Including
to me,
10 minutes ago.
He's James Harden 2.0. Lot of hot and cold three-point shooting. For example, last year in the playoffs, somehow he got that Mavericks team on his back to the finals, but then he couldn't hit a three against the Celtics, because they have 5 wing defenders, and they don't idiotically put a 7-footer out there on him who he's going to take to school every time. I don't understand the NBA, why you let that big man switch onto the guard. It drives me nuts. It's lazy, lazy basketball. But the Celtics did not do that, and they shut Luka down from the outside. Now, he took 50 shots a game, so he scored some points. But the Mavericks weren't even competitive in that series. I kind of actually agree with one of the parts of the trade is the Mavericks thought that Luka was not going to win a title there. I agree with that. I don't think they were anywhere close as a franchise.
But you say anywhere close, but this is a guy who came to a team that was one of the worst teams in the NBA, turned them around immediately, took them to the conference finals in his third year, got them to the NBA finals in his 5th year. Like, that's a guy who, in any other profile, we would say that guy's probably a future champion. We wouldn't look at a guy who had that much early success, early team success, and also, by the way, has been a playoff killer. Like, this is not a guy, you keep saying James Harden. He is not James Harden. James Harden goes into the playoffs and he plays worse.
His
stats in terms of his efficiency, everything, it all goes down.
James
Luka
Harden's
Doncic
okay in the first 4 games of a series. Like remember a couple series, he had 2 40-point games for the Sixers in his last playoff game. He would go off.
Yeah,
so will Luka.
Absolutely, he almost saved that series for Philly. But Luka doesn't have those 4 for 18s and the end of the playoffs where he's embarrassing himself the way James Harden is at. James Harden is at games where he's been in single digits in big games. So when you make this James Harden comparison, I disagree with it because we could talk about their style of play, but it's also what's up here. I'm talking about the mind when I'm pointing to my head, and in here when I'm talking about the chest, your heart. And Luka Doncic is a guy to me in terms of basketball integrity, in terms of what I think he is as a player in clutch moments. I would take him over most of the guys in the NBA.
The last 3 games of the finals, Luka shot 1 for 7 from 3, 0 for 8 for 3, and 2 for 9 for 3. That's 3 for 24.
Right, but what was his overall number? Because you're cherry picking his numbers.
His numbers were he had 28 points, 29 points, and 27 points.
Okay, exactly.
He shot 30 times a game. James Harden. Those are James Harden 3 points. You're not going to win when your guy is shooting 1 for 8 every night from 3-pointer. The guy who has the ball that's my point. He's so hot and cold. Last night he was hot because the defense was lame. And he was fired up. But you don't think he could go 0 for 10 on any given night from 3?
We can't do this with the whole we're on point to only Luka Doncic and say that was the reason why Dallas lost. They lost because of his defense. Okay, Kyrie Irving was a disaster. He gave him no help. Because Jason Tatum had similar shooting numbers, and the Celtics won. You know why? Because he had help around him. Because he had a better team around him. So we can't do that. Well, he had these 3 games where he struggled. Luka Doncic, for the majority of his playoff career, has been a much, much better player than James Harden. You have to agree with that. The stats show it out. There's no argument about that.
I mean, actually, the funny thing is, I think you're denigrating Harden a little bit because Harden's that run with the Rockets where they lost to the Warriors, he had some big games too. But yeah, Luka's definitely better. He's a fancy Harden. He's better than Harden. Now, you say every great star is going to win because the modern era of NBA, there are no dynasties, and Giannis won, Joker won. 15 years ago, you would look at KD. Like, KD wasn't going to win in Oklahoma City. There are just certain situations. So maybe Luka is like that. He had to get out of Dallas to win the title. But my question, in LA, if they don't win this year with LeBron, who is he going to have around him? Who's his 1B? Who's his wingman? Who's his Scottie Pippen moving forward?
I mean, that to me with the Lakers, it could be anybody because the Lakers, unfortunately, for other NBA fan bases, they're the team that just finds stars. They seem to just fall out of those palm trees in California.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the Lakers always find a way, and that sounds very unscientific and very unintelligent for a radio show. But to be honest, like LeBron James is going to have $50+, $60+ million coming off their cap whenever he retires, so that's a lot of money to play with. Austin Reeves, by the way, is becoming a baller. I mean, this guy who I loved in that draft, I don't know how he went undrafted. He's been a great player for the Lakers. I don't know if he's a number 2, but he definitely could be a third wing in a big 3 kind of situation. So the Lakers are not starting at 0. The Lakers have a pretty decent base already. They're just only a couple of pieces away.
Once LeBron leaves, Austin Reeves, it's not 0, but they clearly
Have you watched Austin Reeves play this year?
Yeah, but they need their Shaq, or they need their Will Chamberlain, or they need Giannis to come to the Lakers.
But when have they not found that guy?
They'll find that guy, but I'm telling you, Austin Reeves ain't that guy. I mean,
I said he could be a third option.
Yeah, but then it doesn't really matter because so they're going to get a guy like Giannis or a guy like Embiid or somebody who is injured somewhere and come there, or Pau Gasol. He's going to need that guy. I don't think it's a given that he gets that guy. It might be, if you look at the next 5 years in the West, it's brutal. He's going to have to deal with the Thunder. He's going to have to deal.
Who he eliminated last year.
He's going to have. Yeah, I know, but that team's on the way up.
Yeah, sure. But I'm just saying, the teams you're going to name are the teams that he's already put out to pasture. Okay? He's not going to look at the Thunder. He's not going to look at the T-Wolves and say, oh, man, I got no chance against these guys. He's going to look at them and say, that's no chance,
but there's going to be a lot of competition. I mean, I think the Rockets are going to get really good soon. Once Amen Thompson figures out offense, you get, obviously, Joker's floating around. Ja Morant might figure it out someday. There's a lot of Anthony Edwards might figure it out someday. So I just saying it's not a given that he wins in L.A. because if LeBron goes away in 2 years, then they're going to have to rebuild a little bit. Like, it's not like you just can't bring in someone right now when LeBron's there. Next year, LeBron does what, one more year?
I think he does one more year.
One more year. Right. So you might not get that guy next year. And LeBron, as awesome as he was, how many did you have in the fourth quarter last night?
He was incredible.
He was incredible. But at a certain point, he is human. This has got to slow down a little bit.
We keep saying that, but then I keep seeing him
could be
score
wrong
15
about that.
points in the fourth quarter and score 11 straight points.
Let's hear from Mavs coach Jason Kidd. Now, this really caught my ear. This was before the game. He made a comparison, and I'm not 100% sure he knew what he was talking about.
This is a business. It happens, right? Trades happen. This won't be the last trade. Someone compared it to Babe Ruth, which is kind of cool.
Now, why is that cool if you're Jason Kidd? Because you're the Red Sox. You're the Red Sox who traded Babe Ruth to the Yankees and didn't win a World Series for 100 years. So does that mean the Dallas Mavericks are not going to win an NBA title for 100 years?
Yeah, I don't think he knew exactly what he was doing there, Pearl. And I think to me, I don't know if you listened to a lot of Jason Kidd press conferences since all this happened. I mean, he seems like to be an autopilot. And I know you were critical of how he coached that game last night. Maybe he was an autopilot last night. I think he's been in a fog. I mean, he's a guy who is taking Luka Doncic.
Since the Doncic trade?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy who, he kind of developed this new era Dallas Mavericks team post Rick Carlisle into a team that had an identity. It was, we can argue whether or not that was a winning a championship identity, but they were all Luka Doncic, and they were like, let's put as much defenders around him and play team ball around him. And it was a good thing. Like, I feel like the guy from the Breaking Bad, we had a good thing going, and you screwed it up, Nico. That's probably how Jason Kidd feels, right? Like, so I think with him, that comment was crazy. I saw that quote. I didn't see the video at first. I saw the quote, and I said, this can't be real. This has to be like, BS Sports or, NBA Central. This can't be real, because he's saying that, we're about to see the curse of the Luke Bino.
So it's funny.
Close to the Bambino.
It felt like the crowd was in on Luka Doncic. Kind of felt like the Mavs were in on Luka Doncic, almost like they wanted to high-five him after he was draining three-pointer after three-pointer. I think last night was a weird night. It was emotional. Actually, the Mavs showed a lot of fight for a team that's clearly faltering, but they go away. I'm trying to think about this, EJ. I think I'm ready to call this, this is a lot, the worst trade in NBA history. I think we're getting close really, really soon, which is insane because it just happened. But I'm looking at a list of the worst trades in NBA history. Bucks trade Kareem to the Lakers. Obviously, we know what happened there. The Warriors trade Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish to the Celtics.
That was
bad,
unbearable.
And a lot of them. But here's the situation: a lot of them, like Kareem wanted out of Milwaukee. I don't know all the details.
Yeah.
Luka Doncic did not want out of Dallas.
Right.
So this, in a way, is worse because there was no pressure to get him out of there. Shaq wanted out of Orlando. I don't remember if that was free agency. That was free agency. But, yeah, I mean, a lot of times a star wants out. Luka was fine in Dallas. It didn't seem and you saw it last night. He was so emotional.
He looked like he wanted to still be there. Like, he
right.
looked like a guy that he wished that he was still playing for Dallas.
So I think that makes this the worst trade in NBA history. A month in, it's incredible. And my wildest dreams around the trade deadline, this happened the Saturday night before the Thursday trade deadline. I could not have imagined that we were about to see the worst move in NBA history, but we might be there. I want to hear from you. Give me your worst trade ever in NBA, in MLB. Is it the curse of the Bambino? Every team has their trade that they remember. I have a bunch with Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
I could detail for you the day they traded Moses Malone for Jeff Ruland. It was a gut punch. Jeff Ruland of Iona.
Exactly.
I'm familiar with Iona.
Yeah, Jeff Ruland, big man, was on Washington. We're like, let's give away Moses Malone for Jeff Ruland. A lot of upside there. And then the Phillies, of course, traded Ryan Sandberg for Ivan De Jesus, who had lied about his age. Long story. Everybody could do this with their own team. I want to hear from you. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. What is the trade that sticks with you that just kills you? And do you think the Luka trade is the worst trade ever? If we put that poll up right now, EJ, how would you answer? Is Luka Doncic going from the Mavericks to the Lakers the worst trade in NBA history? Yes or no?
Right now I'm leaning yes.
Is that amazing?
Yeah.
And we're not, are we, is this hyperbole?
I don't think it's hyperbole because you just don't trade young superstar players in the prime of their career for older injury-prone superstar guys. It's just not. It's just you just would never do that. There's no explanation for it. There's none.
Some people would do it apparently because it just happened. You're right. You're right. So give us a call again. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. The worst trade in your life. The trade that just killed you when it came through. Maybe you were a little kid and you cried to dad, why? Why are we giving my star away? Happened to me. It probably happened to you. But next, speaking of making a fan base cry, let's talk a little Aaron Rodgers. What's going on with Pittsburgh? I thought last night would be the night. It wasn't. That's coming up next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back on Maggie and Perloff. Maggie is out on some well-deserved vacation. She did not tell Manny where she is going. That is causing a lot of controversy in the office. EJ vaguely knows what part of the world. I know exactly where. I will never tell. Maggie made me sign a NDA.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. She just doesn't want Manny to bother her, which makes sense. I accidentally tweeted her a clip last night, a highlight of something. I felt so bad.
Oh, yeah, you did, yeah.
Because on your phone, Manny, who is producing today with EJ sitting in as co-host, Manny, Maggie, it's almost the same thing.
So I've had that same issue, but with you and Bogusch. Because I have the Andrews, and it shows up as Andrews. So I texted both of you guys multiple times and texted the wrong person.
Yeah, so Maggie will be back soon. Let's not bother her. The question today is, are we ready to say the Luka Doncic trade is the worst trade in NBA history? I know that sounds like modern media overhyping. I don't like when people say this is the best or this is the worst, but I already think that we are maybe headed in that direction. And sure seems like they felt that in Dallas last night because they didn't even pretend to root for the Mavericks. They were all about Luka. Let's go to the phone lines. Let's start with Michael in Kentucky. Is the Luka trade one of the worst ever, or is it too soon to see? Michael,
okay, one of the worst ever. Yeah, it's got potential to be top 5, worst ever. But we've not really got to see a healthy Davis and Kyrie play to their potential together. But we see what Luka's doing with LA. Got him top 3 spot with LeBron. That's kind of fading out, but it definitely has potential to be up there. But you're talking about the Bambino trade. That's kind of that's epic.
So, Michael, are you from Kentucky?
Yes, sir.
This to me feels like we're talking about Sam Bowie going number 2 over Michael Jordan. It's like the greatest mistakes in the NBA. I don't know if you remember Sam Bowie, but are you ready to put it in that conversation?
It's definitely around that, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, thank you, Michael. I agree. We are headed that. I do not buy that Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis are going to be able to rectify this team because they're just old.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Is if those guys weren't so old, I'd say maybe. But we already got one guy who has a serious injury. We don't know if he's ever going to be the same. And Anthony Davis has already been battling injuries, and he's at an advanced age. So the window Dallas has to make this right is small. If they don't win a title or compete at a high level in the next 2 years, it's already a terrible trade. They can't win.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if they were healthy and at their peak, Kyrie and Anthony Davis are amazing, but I don't think we'll see that. Let's go to Bishop in Dallas. Bishop, how do you feel right now about the Luka trade?
Okay, I'm here in Dallas, and you guys definitely have recently revised. I understand that Kareem didn't want to be with Milwaukee or whatever, but you're comparing, apples to grapefruits in this case. That was the worst trade ever in terms of what they got back and in terms of what Kareem did throughout his career.
Oh,
One, okay, and one of you guys alluded to it. He is James Harden pretty much 2.0. Playoff, being the exception. He plays no defense, so if he goes out and scores 40 points tonight and gives up 30, that's an offset. And, I hear one guy here is talking about Luka's integrity. They gave him a chance every season to come in shape. He did a Shaq. He wants to come in overweight and play himself into shape, drink beer and smoke cigarettes throughout. And also, do you think the general manager was able to just get rid of Luka without the blessings of the owner? He's been thrown under the bus, but, there's more to it than what you guys are seeing from the outside.
Bishop, real quick, I would blame the owner too. Like, I have no issue saying that the ownership also has been a disaster because at the end of the day, you're talking about what you got back. But what you got back, you haven't been able to even see in full form because Anthony Davis has been hurt, and that's been his issue for most of his career. This is not going to get better for Anthony Davis.
Well, exactly. But what I'm saying is, you guys are definitely overhyping Luka. No one outside of Kyrie who didn't have a second option, no other superstar is going to want to play with Luka. He's ball dominant. He's going to shoot the ball 30, 40 times a game. He rarely gets his teammates involved until he, passes the ball the last 2 seconds of the shot clock. So you guys, I love Luka. He's a great offensive player. And offensive, that's it. He doesn't do anything else. He doesn't attempt to play defense at all. And you guys are hyping him up here as if, he's the second coming. And he's not. Don't get me wrong. He's great entertainment. He's exciting. He shoots the ball from half court. He does all the other stuff. But he has no integrity because if he did, he would take it upon himself to be in shape. So please miss me with that because of how much integrity he has. When the guy never wants to take the intestinal fortitude upon himself to be a dominant player, try to play defense, and come in shape. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bishop. I needed you this morning when I was arguing with EJ about the similarities between Luka Doncic and James Harden. The style to me is I've seen James Harden dribble till there's 5 seconds left on the 24-second clock many, many times with no motion happening in the offense. That seemed to happen a lot with Luka. And then what happens when you're playing a superb playoff team, they are going to come after you in the last 10 seconds of that shot clock, and your three-pointers are going to be tougher. It happens to Harden all the time, and I think it could happen to Luka. I think Luka's style has to change a little bit. When I say ball dominant, he kills the 24-second clock. Him and Harden will do that. Yeah. And he's not great on defense. So I forgot about that.
Right, he's not a great defender, and the stuff about coming in shape is a fair point from Bishop. But what we got to understand is this guy is 26 years old. We're not talking about a guy who is 30, 31. He's a young player who's had a lot of success. Guys have to learn what it takes to be a champion. And it's different things for different people. With Shaq, it was getting in shape. With Michael Jordan, it was learning to trust his teammates. With Kobe Bryant, it was learning to trust his teammates. Like, guys aren't coming to the NBA and they're ready-made products. I don't think Luka Doncic for the rest of his career is going to be an out-of-shape loser for the rest of his life. I don't buy that.
But yeah, he's in good shape right now. He looked pretty thin last night.
And when I talk about basketball integrity, when I talk about what I'm talking about, I'm saying that when the chips are on the line and you're playing must-win games or you're in clutch situations, who would I want on my team? I've seen Luka Doncic go up against teams that are better than his team, have more talent, and rip their heart out. That's what I'm talking about. I've not seen James Harden do that.
And who is the team that, he beat the T-Wolves in the Western Conference
T-Wolves had more talent than him.
Yeah, but that was one of the worst Western Conference finals. They weren't ready to be there. They just sort of found themselves in the Western Conference finals last year.
What? They were the number 2 seed. They had the second best record in the NBA. They almost had the best record.
Did you think the T-Wolves were going to be in the West? Oh, get out of here. You said that the Minnesota Timberwolves last year, that was a shock. You thought they were going to beat the Nuggets?
All year last year before the show.
You thought they were going to beat the Nuggets?
I did not. No, I didn't have them picking that series. But we talked all year about what the T-Wolves can do. I said they could definitely go to the conference finals. Like, you're acting like the T-Wolves were some little sisters of the poor, okay? They had one of the best players in the NBA in Anthony Edwards. Karl-Anthony Towns was
very
a star,
young.
And they had the defensive player of the year. They were not some little sisters of the poor. What are we talking about?
Everyone knows Rudy Gobert is wildly overrated. Nobody thinks Cat can play defense.
They were the number 1 defensive team in the NBA last year.
Yeah, in the regular season.
And Luka Doncic went demolition derby on them.
Yeah, those tall stiffs get him off the court.
And then he beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, the number 1 seed in the West last year. These are the 2 teams you keep saying, well, if Luka's going to win the Lakers, he's going to have to go through these teams. Well, then I'm telling you,
but those teams are young. Those teams are going to get way better. And wait till see my Spurs, what they do too. By the way, the guy who comps best to Luka is Larry Bird, in my opinion. I know that's white on white, whatever. But you see, there was a move last night that was reincarnated Larry Bird. Larry Bird was ready to go from day one, and he never lifted a weight, just like Luka doesn't seem to lift a weight. So there's a slight difference. There just seems to be more of an all-around game with the superstars. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be LeBron. He'll never be LeBron. But some of those superstars, the 6'8" guys, can do more. Even Harden was nasty on defense at times, believe it or not. Like, his hands were crazy. Luka does have to develop other parts of his game. He's got to share the ball more. He's got to move more. I think, and he probably will. He's 26. I agree. JJ Redick looks like a good coach, despite some of my issues with his podcasting. But so I think you're right. He's 26 and he could develop. But I don't necessarily agree. Some guys came more fully formed as all-around players. That's what annoys Dallas people. That's what Bishop was talking about. Let's go to Chris in Dallas. Chris, I want to hear, do you think the Luka Doncic trade was the worst trade in NBA history?
Man, it's going to be up there. I mean, he's a bona fide superstar. I just think that the Mavs, they didn't like him. And they keep bringing up Kobe, and he didn't have the Kobe mentality. Like, no one is going to have that kind of mentality. So, and then we already seen that Anthony Davis, before he went to L.A. in New Orleans, what he do? He didn't do nothing. So, Nico Harris totally overthought it, looked at the Boston Celtics and said, hey, Al Horford will beat us. But, yeah, we had a rookie and Lively. Gafford just got there last year, and he sat there and literally thought, oh, the way to beat the Celtics is bring in AD. Like, it's just overthinking. It's like too smart for your own good.
Thank you.
Probably the worst trade ever.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. You look at the Mavs, you're right. Obviously, The big men are just there. They look good. Lively looked great last night, but he's not healthy a lot.
Yeah.
There's just so many issues. If I'm a Mavericks fan, I probably would have cheered for Luka last night too. They're not really giving me any hope.
No, this is Dallas again. It's hard to really see it, right? Again, if Kyrie was healthy, that's one thing. But I think the reason why I dislike this trade so much was it required the Mavericks to require everything to go right for them to get this to work, because it requires two guys who have injury issues, who are at an advanced age, to stay healthy. And then you have to assume they actually have chemistry. We don't even know if Kyrie and Anthony Davis would have been a great pair. There's a great chance it could have been, but we don't even know. So you're like rolling the dice. You have a homegrown guy that you drafted. I know technically it was a trade when during the Hawks, but whatever. You drafted Luka Doncic. You've developed him to this point, and to give up on that for the hope that you have a 1 year, 2 year window with two guys that are injury prone, it's just silly to me.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Dallas fans totally agree. I want to do one more bad trade before we get to updates in 1 second. Kenny in Louisville, you're talking about a trade that is close to the heart of several people on the show. Hit us with your bad trade.
Well, it's close to my heart as well. The Luka trade very well might go down as the worst trade of all time. But if I had to guess one that we compare to that, I'd have to say Melo leaving Denver, going to New York. As a New York fan, I loved it in the moment until I stopped and thought, this guy wants to play in New York. They could spin the whole Denver was saying, well, Chicago was a quick 1A. He was thinking about going there too. It doesn't matter, dude. Everybody knew where Melo was going to end up playing eventually. They had the money for him in the offseason. Then they could have kept those picks. They could have moved other people around. And instead of being a second-round exit or a semifinal exit, they could have maybe actually threw a finals team together with Amare, with Melo, but they had to wait till the end of the season.
Wait, so who is the bad trade? Well, I'm a little confused.
Well, the Knicks, he's saying.
Oh, the Knicks.
Yeah. Because the Knicks should have waited on Melo.
100%.
Yeah, and give away all those picks and those players. I see what you agree, EJ?
Yeah, Kenny's spitting fire. There's no lies here. I mean, this is one of the things that I think Knicks fans have a trouble with in terms of talking about Melo, because he did come here. He was a good leader. He was good with the fans, and thank you, Kenny, for the phone call. But the problem was that he really forced the Knicks to trade him before the CBA expired, and the CBA rules was going to change everything. He would have lost some money had he waited for free agency by threatening to go to the Brooklyn Nets, or that time New Jersey Nets. He forced the Knicks to give up valuable assets that they then could have used to help the team around him. He wanted to go to New York right now and get all his money. And he ended up screwing himself because the Knicks they were in a position to really build maybe a championship caliber team had he just waited a couple months.
Andrew Bogusch is here with updates. Bogusch, I have a question. Is there any doubt in your mind that a young E.J. Stewart said, I guarantee Carmelo Anthony's going to win a title in New York? Is there even like a slight doubt in your mind?
I would have thought it'd be like LeBron counting to 18 in Miami.
Yes, because EJ, God bless him, thinks that every single superstar in the NBA. I think you have 9 teams that you consider contenders right now, maybe 14. You're like, oh, don't count them out. Don't count them out. Don't count them out.
The Pistons could do it if they were not playing the Knicks in round 1.
Yes.
We should rank them. You want to know my championship teams?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Okay, so let's go in the East. Boston and Cleveland, only teams I would consider title contenders. Right. In the West, I think you're going Lakers, Thunder.
Yep.
Rockets?
No. I'm gonna say Warriors. I've been bashing the Warriors for a long time, but I'm gonna say Warriors.
Just a little bookkeeping here. That means if any of those 5 teams win, EJ will take full credit and said, I told you so. There is
not necessarily. I'll just say that they were a team because
you just told me you saw the T-Wolves coming last year.
And the Clippers. Sorry, that'll be the other team.
Yeah. Okay. You just saw. You will definitely say, oh. Yeah, I definitely saw the Rockets going to the conference finals.
But I'm telling you, my pick is the Celtics, which I told you yesterday.
Oh, okay. Over the Thunder.
Yes.
Who's your pick in the West?
The Thunder coming out of the West.
Okay.
And then the Celtics beating the Thunder.
All right. I think we have to pin you to one team. And no, I'm giving you a hard time.
Says you?
Well, no. You pin EJ.
He's the one to talk, right?
No, but he talks so much trash about these NBA teams, especially. And by the way, you notice he didn't say his New York Knicks.
I know. I'm trying to see if Manny's okay over there.
Be honest, I was cutting things up and I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, he said the Knicks can't win a title.
I agree. Didn't we say this back in like January?
What kind of fans are you guys?
You guys.
What kind of fans are we? At least we haven't jumped ship.
They're so warped in what we actually think about the Knicks. Because to answer your original question, I was furious that the Knicks traded Gallinari, Chandler, and all those picks for Melo. I was like, why wouldn't Melo wait? And I told you before the show, I was a huge Melo fan. So you actually got it totally wrong.
Okay,
I was one of those people, and I had to actually argue, and I still argue to this day with people who work here, that the Knicks screwed up that thing. So that's not true.
I remember I was here last year. Bogusch, you were in this way, and the Mets were struggling early in the season, and Pete Bellotti, who used to be on our show, said, "Oh, it's over in May. I guarantee."
Yeah, no, I did too.
Yeah, and I was like, guys, it's May. What are you doing? New York fans are the most irrational group of people I've ever met in my life, and I come from Philly. All right, Bogusch, let's get to some headlines.
Those headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs for protection on the road and on the water. See how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. So the Luka trade will always be the divorce of this NBA season. Otherwise, it would have been the Nuggets firing Michael Malone in the final days of this regular season. Game 1 since that stunner last night in Sacramento.
Christian Brown has it on the high left side. Slip pick by Jokic. Brown to the lane. Kick out Pickett for the win. Yes! Denver leads it 120 to 108 with 1:14 to go. David Adelman will go to 1-0 in his coaching career, and this thing is over.
Jason Kosmiski saying goodbye on Nuggets Radio. Denver a 124-116 victory over the Kings. Nikola Jokic with 20 points, 12 boards, 11 assists for his 32nd triple-double of the season. Here is interim coach David Adelman from pregame.
We are in the mix here. I think people forget that. Like, they keep thinking that we didn't make the playoffs or whatever. We still have a great chance to do something special. We talked about that. The guys seem convinced.
The win gets the Nuggets to 4th in the West, winning a tie with the Clippers, who extended their win streak to 6 last night, 134-117 over the Rockets, who were resting most of their regulars after securing the 2nd seed. The Suns securing nothing, eliminated from play-in contention with their 8th consecutive defeat, 125-112 to the Thunder, who gave SGA, Lou Dort, and Isaiah Hartenstein the night off, and again, still won by 13 in Phoenix. The only good Phillies wins are the ones against the Braves.
Here's the pitch to Turner, and he swings and drives one high in the air, deep left field. Eli White going back to the track at the wall. He jumps, he can't get it. It's gone, and Turner has taken Iglesias deep here in the 9th inning. Phillies are back in front on the solo shot by Trey Turner, his first of the year. And what a time for it. It's 4-3 Phillies.
And that was the final in Atlanta. Scott Fransky calling the 9th inning tiebreaker on Phil's radio. The Braves are now 2-9.
That's not good.
So, Bogusch, I got a home run, and we're doing a home run derby here at the Maggie and Perloff show. We all picked 3 sluggers early in the season, and I picked Harper, and I got a Harper one last night. Have you guys been following how your team is doing? I think I might be the only one who's tracking it.
I don't remember who's on my team.
Attaboy, Bogey.
Come on, Bogusch.
Yeah.
That's so weak, dude. This is so much fun. Get in there. But my guy, Marcelo Zuna, has not woken up yet. I'm a little worried about him. Yeah. But Bryce Harper and Schwarber are killing it, so I'm in the mix. Who's got Aaron Judge? Do you have him, EJ?
That'll be me. Thank you, Manny, for that.
Whatever, dog. Again, I misunderstood the assignment. I digress.
I've got Ohtani. That's all I remember. Thanks to Manny's whatever.
Ohtani just missed one the other night. So I'm really into this because Ohtani hit the wall with a shot. I'm like, oh, somebody just lost a homer on that one. All right, what else you got?
The Rays snapped their 5-game skid 5-4 over the Angels, and the Brewers steamrolled the Rockies at Coors Field 17-2. Jackson Chourio, a homer and 5 RBI. Milwaukee has won 7 of 8 after an 0-4 start. And Messi scored to begin an Inter-Miami comeback last night. They beat LAFC 3-1 to advance to the CONCACAF Champions Cup semifinals 3-2 on aggregate. Perloff, you know what that means?
I feel like I've heard that word, and it sounds familiar, but in this context, nope.
Oh, man.
Okay. Damn.
I thought you would know.
I was only half listening to it, but you
That's
said
fine.
CONCACAF.
Don't worry.
Did you say the word CONCACAF, and my mind went totally blank?
Yeah, no, you're good. Manny, back to you.
Yeah, all right,
EJ,
guys.
somebody take it. Botcher, anybody want this?
I mean, come on, you can't expect me to listen to soccer updates. What are we doing here?
No, it's fine.
Listen, soccer.
Barcelona played yesterday.
Nobody in the world likes soccer.
Okay, all right. Let's throw the break.
Soccer is our future overlords, man. We're gonna be talking soccer a lot in the next 20 years, probably.
You're probably right. Okay.
World Cup is going to be here in
That's true.
52 weeks.
Worst soccer trade of all time. Go.
They don't really do trades. They
It's just like we're gonna pay Cristiano Ronaldo $800 million.
Exactly.
Beckham transferred to Real Madrid.
Okay, let's get back to Luka, who's probably a bigger soccer fan than he is basketball fan. Worst trade ever. Are we ready to talk about the Luka Doncic to the Lakers trade in those terms? I know it sounds insane after a very short time, but after what you saw last night, the Mavs look dead and the Lakers look like a real contender. Give us a call, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. And if you want to share your trade horror stories, we all have them from when we were a kid. I have a billion of them. Please do. That's next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Can't believe it. He was so young. How could this have happened?
Well, he'd been logging some pretty heavy hours. First one in the morning, last one to leave at night. That kid was a human dynamo.
Are you sure you're talking about George?
You are Mr. and Mrs. Costanza.
What the hell did you trade Jay Buhner for? He had 30 home runs and over 100 RBIs last year. He's got a rocket for an arm. You don't know what the hell you're doing.
Well, Buhner was a good prospect, no question about it. But my baseball people love Ken Phelps' bat. They kept saying, Ken Phelps, Ken Phelps.
Now here, leave a message. Jerry, it's Frank Costanza. Mr. Steinbrenner's here. George is dead. Call me back.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Of course, that's a clip of maybe the best line in the history of Seinfeld when George's dad thinks that George died, and George Steinbrenner comes to personally give condolences, and he complains about the Jay Buhner trade.
I mean, it's very, very accurate for a New York description, right?
Yeah, no, I think every fan would think the same thing because I tell you, as a kid, I had certain trades that just killed me. The Sixers were really good, and then on the same day, listen to this. These names will probably mean nothing to you, but they traded Moses Malone, the great Moses Malone, for Jeff Ruland, and then they traded the number 1 overall pick for a guy named Roy Hinson.
I know Roy Hinson.
Roy Hinson, an undrafted power forward out of Rutgers, or maybe a second-round pick, who did nothing.
Dylan Harper?
Got hurt immediately. They drafted Brad Daugherty, and the rest is history. So I think every franchise has that. We want to hear your franchise's worst trade ever, the trade that really sticks with you, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Because Dallas Mavericks coach Jason Kidd last night compared the Luka trade to the Babe Ruth trade when the Red Sox gave Babe Ruth to the Yankees and did win a World Series title forever, the curse of the Bambino. I don't know, Jason Kidd, maybe it's just being funny. That's incredible, but it doesn't feel out of place. It's been 2 months since the trade, and there is just not anything that is working out for Dallas here.
No, there's nothing that's there. It's all bad, as my favorite rapper Jid would say. There's nothing I can point to for Dallas and say, all right, there's something that could happen here that will work out. The only thing that they can hold on to is that will Luka Doncic break down? Will he prove that he is not the kind of winner champion that Kobe Bryant was? Because that's what the reporting is, right? That Nico Harrison was close to Kobe Bryant and watched Kobe Bryant's work ethic as a Nike executive, him watching Kobe, and thought, this guy ain't Kobe. So we got to figure out how to build this team around somebody else. He took that bet. The only saving grace they have is maybe he doesn't win a title. Now, I don't know why, if you wanted him not to succeed, why you send him to the Lakers. I mean, the Lakers seem to always find success. They find other stars out of trees. They find ways to get the big superstar coaches. Like, everything always seems to go well for them. So if you're banking on his failures, that was probably the wrong place to send him to. But that's all they got, is whether or not Luka will win, and I think he will. I've seen this pairing with him and LeBron James that I've said from early on. I was like, man, this is, they're cooking with gas here. This is a serious, awesome pairing because in many ways they make up for each other's deficiencies. You saw it last night. Luka goes up to this rocket start where he has 31 in the first half. LeBron's able to kind of coast through the first half. Then in the fourth quarter, Luka may be a little tired, maybe kind of the weight of everything that was happening in the game kind of maybe came to him a little bit.
Yeah.
And he started to kind of struggle a little bit. What happens? LeBron scores like 11 points in a row. He can just show that he's still got it at the end. And in many ways, the ways that Luka may not be so great, LeBron can help him. Where LeBron can't carry the load for 48 minutes, Luka can carry a lot of the load for most of the game.
Yeah, but that was against a Mavericks team who has, they came out with a lot of emotion last night, but they're mailing in the season.
Those guys they're trying to make the playoffs. They're not trying to mail. They're not mailing it in.
I mean, listen, like we're talking about Najee Marshall. We're not talking about a fully loaded Mavs team. We're talking about a sort of a backup Mavs team.
Sure, but I mean, but my point though is that the Mavs are not trying to tank. Like they made it clear that they're trying to make the playoffs.
But
That was an important game for both teams.
That Luka LeBron combo looked great against Dallas. Is it going to look great for 4 rounds of the playoffs?
It looked great against the Thunder a couple of nights ago. It looked great. It looked great against the best teams in the NBA for most of the season. They looked great against the Knicks. Like I can point to a lot of games. That team, they've been a good pairing.
They were going against, I would say, a mid to bad Mavericks team last night. So I mean. Yeah, the Mavs.
But they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, they did. I'm just not ready to buy this. You're putting a lot of pressure on the Lakers to win it all this year, in a sense, because there's such a short time window where you could actually have Luka and LeBron. Maybe this year and next year. I know they've secured the number 3 seed basically because they have 2 winnable games. I think they have the Rockets, who are done, and the Blazers done. They've already clinched the 2 spot, and the Blazers. So they'll probably end up with a number 3 seed. What if they get the Warriors in the first round? They'd have to go. I was looking at they'll get the Warriors, either the Rockets, Clippers, or T-Wolves in the second round, and then probably a Thunder waiting for them there. That's a lot of energy for Luka and LeBron to do this. It is. I think it's a tall mountain to climb. I'm not saying they can't do it. That'd be ridiculous. They have LeBron and Luka, but to keep that up, to win 4 games against all those teams, that's a hefty assignment, EJ.
Yeah, and J.J. Redick is a rookie coach, and that's a whole different variable that we'll have to see what that is. He could be great.
But you have LeBron. Doesn't LeBron make up for having a rookie coach, an older player?
Sure, because he did it with Tyronn Lue, right? And he did it with David Blatt. So maybe that's fair. So to me, and matchups will be definitive or decisive with this too, right? Because right now they would play the Grizzlies if it was today. So if you're talking about a matchup Lakers-Grizzlies, I would take the Lakers fairly easily in a series like that. Now, if it's the Warriors, it's a little dicey.
Yeah.
That's a war, I think, for 7 games probably.
Yeah, the West is all tightly packed. You know who's a big player for the Lakers? They said this last night. Dorian Finney-Smith, who they traded for, outstanding wing defender, he was plus 29 to lead all players last night. That's the thing about the Lakers have quietly added defense. That makes them a little scary to me. They kind of make up for Luka, and LeBron picks and chooses his spots on defense. But again, this is the NBA regular season. There's a long, long way to go. And the funny thing is, the Nuggets, are they out of it now? They fired their coach.
They got 1 win.
Are they a threat if somehow they end up facing the Lakers?
I mean, I think when you look at both conferences, whether it's the Nuggets or the Bucks in the East, I don't think anyone wants to see Giannis and Joker, regardless of how much of those teams may be in the tailspin. The Bucks playing a lot better. I think Jokic for 6 games, 7 games, however long it will be, is a load to handle. So I don't think you're inviting that matchup, but they're not necessarily a team that's united right now. So I think if you're going to beat a team like that, this is the year you're going to do it.
Absolutely. Okay. We have a lot of bad trades in the NFL and MLB to look back at as well. To me, the NFL, there is one trade that stands out. It's historically, if you're thinking bad NFL trade, you say this trade. I'll share that next. Also, there's a lot going on with Shedeur Sanders, EJ. A lot. It's amazing. There are 32 guys who are going in the first round, and it seems like the Colorado quarterback is the only one we're talking about. More news on that front and an interesting theory from an NFL insider. Next, Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie is off for a couple days. EJ Stewart is in. We already broke down Luka's return to Dallas. Did not go well for the Mavericks, although the fans seem to be into it because they're rooting for Luka. Odd. Head coach Jason Kidd compares the trade to Babe Ruth going from Boston to New York, the curse of the Bambino. That's not a good sign. That's not what you want to hear if you're a Dallas fan. We're debating the worst trades in NFL, NBA, or MLB history. NHL, if you have a soccer trade, any trade, I want to hear the trade that keeps you up at night. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We also have a lot of news around the NFL draft today. Shedeur Sanders is visiting with the Steelers as we speak. Well, it's 7 o'clock Eastern. I don't know what time that visit starts.
Early visit.
Yeah. Well, it's the NFL. They're in the building at 5 o'clock.
That's true.
It's going to happen soon. So Shedeur is in Pittsburgh today. The Steelers, I guess, are still waiting on Aaron Rodgers. We thought maybe Aaron Rodgers would announce something last night when there was a live Pat McAfee show. Didn't happen. So we're now in this weird spot. But the way mock drafters, Mel Kiper and everybody has it laying out, Shedeur looks like he is falling out of the top three. I mean, you never know. The draft is unpredictable. The media sees one thing, the teams know another. But it does feel like, obviously, Cam Ward goes number 1 to Tennessee. Cleveland looks like they're going to probably jump on Travis Hunter at number 2. Then the Giants according to Schefter, are unlikely to take Shedeur, probably Abdul Carter, the pass rusher out of Penn State. So that means that there's a possibility that Shedeur falls out of the top 3. Where do you stand right now, EJ? About 2 weeks away from the draft.
Yeah.
Do you think this is true that Shedeur is falling out of that top 3?
Something tells me he's still going to go in the top 3. I don't know what it is. Something tells me this is a long shell game that is being played by, I think, the Giants. But I could be wrong. That they will, because I don't think you're in a position, if you're those teams, whether you're Cleveland or New York, to pass up on the opportunity to draft even the second best quarterback in this draft. If you don't think that if you think Cam Ward's number 1, they need to find a way to figure out what the future is at that position, the most important position in the NFL. So I think there's a chance that they do end up still drafting Shedeur, but all the signs you're pointing to are correct. It sounds like it's not going to happen, and I don't get it. I don't quite understand it. This means the Giants have a massive hole at quarterback. I don't think Russell Wilson is getting there and turning them into a playoff team. I don't think Jameis Winston is doing that, and the Browns also have obviously a massive hole. So I don't know what these teams are doing in terms of passing up on a guy like Shedeur.
I'll give you a counter theory. The New York Giants are all about history, right?
Sure.
They love history. They like to maybe repeat history. Maybe they'll get Arch Manning at number 1 next year. But if you look at their history, what's the last time they took the second best quarterback in a draft? What happened then? It was Daniel Jones, who went number 6 overall. They reached. People said, you know what? If you like him at 20, you might as well take him at 6.
It's true.
Shedeur feels the same way. He's probably ranked around the 20th best prospect, but people are going to say you need a quarterback. So maybe they don't want to do that. But if you look at the Super Bowl winning teams, what did they do? They overdrafted like crazy on the defensive line. They had Strahan and O.C. Umenyiora, and they drafted Matthias Kiwanuka. Yep. They had all those guys, and they drafted Pierre-Paul,
yep.
JPP. So they have a history of rotating in defensive ends, and they're meeting with Abdul Carter multiple times this week. Feels like they might not want to pass on Abdul Carter, and I really get that logic. He feels like a 10-time Pro Bowler, where Shedeur is more of a question mark. I understand, always err on the side of the quarterback, but I'm not sure they view Shedeur as such a sure thing. If the player comp is Kirk Cousins, are you really taking Kirk Cousins number 3 when you could have Myles Garrett there or Micah Parsons?
That's why I don't understand the strategy, though, because if you decide, okay, we're not going to take this quarterback because we don't think he's that good and we need a better quarterback, whether it's through the draft or through trade or whatever, then why would you bring in a Russell Wilson who is probably going to win you enough games to get you out of the number 1 pick? Like, that's why in Jameis Winston. So if Russell gets hurt, Jameis Winston gets in the game, he could probably win you a couple games. Like, to me, if you're all about the tank, you're saying, you know what, quarterback's not here, we're going to draft the best player available and find our quarterback next year, then why don't you just start Tommy DeVito? Say he's our guy, we're going to move with him and see what happens. They're not going to do that because they know they're going to get fired if that happens.
I have recent evidence that you can definitely tank with Jameis Winston. The Browns had the number 2 pick, and they had to rely on Jameis last year. He didn't start
the whole season, though. It was
he won that game against the Steelers, you're right,
exactly.
in the snow. But I do disagree. I think that you can lose plenty with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, possibly, at least with Jameis. So we'll see what they do. But Shedeur falling out of top 3 opens up all kinds of possibilities. We're looking at the Las Vegas Raiders are number 6. We're looking at possibly, it seems like a dark horse, the New York Jets at number 7. And then Vegas is really leaning number 9, New Orleans. And it's interesting. An NFL insider that I have a lot of respect for, former Philadelphia Eagles executive Louis Riddick, had an interesting thought on what it would mean for Shedeur to fall out of the top 3.
This young man is going to be just fine. And you know what? I hope he doesn't go in the top 3 picks. I hope he doesn't. And I think his camp would tell you the same thing. There are other teams that they want to go to.
He could be in a better situation.
What do you think, EJ? Do you think it would help Shedeur to not go to one of those 3 teams with bad records?
The problem is the teams you just mentioned, the Raiders, Jets, and Saints.
Well,
they don't sound that much better now.
But Riddick's talking about the Steelers, too, who picked 21.
So if you're talking about the Steelers, that's one thing. Yeah. And I would say, yes, I'd rather be with the Steelers than any of those teams in the top 3. But there are a lot of landmines outside of the top 3, too. I mean, you always mention how every Jet quarterback that goes there fails. We're talking about the Saints have had pretty much zero success in building a team since Drew Brees retired.
Yep.
We're not talking about good situations. I mean, the Raiders, this is a new regime, to be fair, and maybe this one will get it right, but they've gotten it wrong for 20 years. So I don't necessarily see this way, way, way better fit. Now, if you're telling me Miami's going to take a shot at him, you're telling me Los Angeles is going to take a shot at him, Those seem to be better fits.
Rams, you mean?
But yes,
Yeah,
Rams, exactly.
Yep.
But like then it becomes all right. Well, when does he actually get on the field? Because you might be sitting for a couple of years behind Tua or behind Matthew Stafford. So that. And do you want to sit? I mean, if you're Shedeur Sanders, I think he's the kind of guy, given his marketability, given what he brings off the field, that he would want to get out there because that makes him more marketable, makes him more money, makes him a bigger star.
Yeah, and also he's 23, like Jaden Daniels. He's older. So
true.
I got to tell you one thing about the Raiders and Saints. To me, one factor you can't forget: they're indoors. Indoor quarterbacks always there's a big bump. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Kellen Moore is in New Orleans. He's a very good offensive coordinator. The Raiders have Tom Brady, who is reportedly Shedeur's mentor. I don't like the Raiders because they need so much. They need so much help with that number 6 pick. They can't have Shedeur sitting behind Geno for a year or two. Doesn't make any sense to me. I think the Jets also are not quite ready for their savior quarterback yet. They seem to need to build their lineup a little bit.
Yeah.
So that kind of leaves the Steelers. Now, if I'm Dion, I mean, is that a place where a quarterback's going to put up any kind of numbers?
Probably not with Arthur Smith calling the plays,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But I think at the end of the day, though, will he win a lot? Because I think he's one of those guys where I think if he goes to, say, Pittsburgh, and they're not putting up a lot of touchdowns and points, but he's a winning quarterback, he goes to Pittsburgh in year one, they win 9-10 games, or they make the playoffs, he's still a massive deal. In many ways, it'd be similar when Ben Roethlisberger got there when he first started, and they had this gaudy record. He wasn't putting up 300, 400 yards in that first year when they went 15-1.
Yeah.
They were a lot of times running the football, running the clock out. He was just kind of playing game manager, but it was still, this is the greatest rookie season of all time. It's Ben Roethlisberger. Imagine if this was
I think you're underselling
Shedeur
Big Ben a
Sanders.
little bit, but yeah.
No, I mean his numbers weren't great. That's what I'm saying. Like they were not an offensive team; those were defensive teams in Pittsburgh in that first year with Bill Cowher. So if we replicate that same scenario where Shedeur goes to a team like Pittsburgh, and let's say for some reason Rodgers doesn't play or he gets hurt or whatever, and somehow Shedeur is the guy leading to the playoffs, he could be throwing for 150 yards a game. It would still be the massive, huge story that they would want it to be. So yeah, I think that even if they don't put up a lot of points, it would still be a great story for him.
Well, right. Slash was huge there too, Cordell's story. Yeah. So that's absolutely a good point. But again, I think it's a frustrating place to play quarterback right now because they're so conservative. We'll see. It does make sense. Here's another question. Do they have to trade up there at 21? If, say, New Orleans passes on them, there are other teams, I think the Rams you mentioned, they're at 26. I think Pittsburgh might have to make a move to get up to make sure they get him. So we'll see if he does fall. This is all if he does fall. Think he might, but then New Orleans, say Pittsburgh really wants him. Do they trade up to 7 or 8, maybe with your Jets, who have a lot of holes? What do you give up to get Shedeur? That's definitely an issue. Now, we've seen Pittsburgh be crazy aggressive. They traded first-round picks for Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
So you never know with Pittsburgh. But that brings us to trades. Some of the worst trades in NFL history have been around the draft. Obviously, the most famous one, I mentioned that when you think of bad trades in the NFL, I think there's a Babe Ruth of this. It's the Herschel Walker trade.
Oh, so that's interesting. So if I went football, and that's a great one because they basically built the Dallas Cowboy dynasty, I think we're in a similar situation, but on the opposite side with the NFL, where it's very recent. I think the worst trade ever is Deshaun Watson. And we're seeing it right now because we're seeing it play out. The Browns are in a situation where they don't know if they should draft a quarterback because Watson's got this Achilles and this big contract, but they don't know what to do. Like he was supposed to lead them to a Super Bowl. Like that was their goal, and they didn't do that. And not only that, all the off the field stuff with that guy, he's such he's like a leech in terms of bad press and just bad mojo. Nothing good has happened since he showed up in Cleveland. Like to me, given the risk they took and bringing in that kind of character, plus the on-field production, which was mid, plus now injury, plus contract, I think that I would say that's even worse than the Herschel Walker trade because,
it doesn't count.
Why doesn't it count?
Because it's not a trade like the Luka. We started this because of Luka Doncic. It's not a trade like that. He was, for all intents and purposes, a free agent. That felt exactly like free agency. There are 4 teams bidding on him. That was not a trade.
No,
it was technically a trade.
No, I disagree with that.
What was the trade for?
They gave up first-round picks for him. They gave up first-round picks for Deshaun Watson. So that's a function of the NFL. That's why I disagree. Because in the NFL, whenever you're trading almost any star player, what comes with it is a new contract. Like, he wasn't a guy who was, I'm a free agent and everybody can sign me. No, he was under contract with the Texans, and he essentially was holding out. So they had to trade him to get him to wherever they were going to go. And that's just what we see in the NFL today. We saw with DK Metcalf, you get traded, you get a contract. It's just the way the NFL works. So, yes, it was a situation where there was a bidding war, so to speak. But at the end of the day, he went to Cleveland because the Browns decided, okay, the Texans decided, okay, the trade compensation is fine with all these teams. So now you get to choose where you want to go because we have what we want. If the Browns weren't offering a first round pick, he doesn't go there.
Did you know all this when the Browns signed him?
I did not like that trade. And I know that sounds crazy.
Oh, my God. EJ, you're the ultimate Monday morning quarterback.
I'm not. It's not Monday morning quarterback. Are you asking me honest questions?
Show me the tweet.
Find Zach Gell stuff.
Show me the tweet.
I don't know if there's a tweet. But I can tell you, I talked on Zach Gelb's show, and I said I was behind that glass, and I said I think he's overrated. I think a guy putting up numbers on a bad team.
Oh my God!
I was right. Why are you saying, "Oh my God"?
Because you have everything figured out that happened 5 years ago. You called.
No,
did you
that's
call?
not true. I was wrong.
It seems that way. Show me. I can't think of anything because
I can think of. I don't know. I got to think of something.
Yeah. Remember when you said the Rams better jump on Puka Nacua in the 4th round because he's going to be awesome?
I will say this: I didn't think that Stafford was going to win a Super Bowl with the Rams. I didn't think that. I didn't love Matthew Stafford, and in fact, you know that because how many times have I come in and say, you know what, Pearl? I watched Stafford play, and damn, that guy's good. You're right. So there are things that I will say that I'm wrong about.
Well, let me take it back. If you don't know, EJ Stewart's the executive producer sitting in for Maggie today. What's your take right now? Okay, sorry. What was your take when Aaron Rodgers came to New York?
I was happy.
Right, but then
I was wrong about that.
But then sometimes you talk about it like, oh, I saw this imploding all along. I feel like
the one thing I will always say is that the one thing that worried me was his last year in Green Bay. He didn't play well. Now, what I kept saying was I think he's motivated. I think he'll be happy here. I think he has something to prove. He got hurt. So I didn't think he'd get hurt. That's the one thing I didn't see. So, but yeah, no, I keep saying, you asked me yesterday, do I like the Aaron Rodgers trade? I said, yes, I wanted him here. But I'm also the kind of guy that will say, hey, I was wrong about something. All the time. But no, I was on an island. Zach Gelb and Ron Hick looked at me like I was crazy when I said I would not trade for Deshaun Watson. I didn't like his character. I felt like maybe something else may come up that was an issue. And I thought as a football player, I thought he was overrated. I'm being real.
Let me ask you this. Did you know the Russell Wilson to Denver was bad?
No, I thought that was a good trade.
What about those are bad. I just think that we're talking about out of nowhere real trades. To me, Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers, those were NFL, they were quasi free agency in a sense. Remember, Atlanta was in on it, Houston was in on it. Everybody was like, Deshaun was just going to go tell the team, whoever gives me the biggest contract, I'm going there.
Well, yeah, but again, it required those teams to give the compensation the Browns wanted. The Texans wanted. If the Browns came to them and said, hey, we're giving him a guaranteed contract, but we're only giving you a 3rd round pick, guess what? He's not going to the Browns. Because the Texans had his rights. They had everything. They had all the power. They had all the leverage.
Right. The thing was the money, though.
Right. It was because once that happened, then Deshaun got to say, okay, everybody's giving you 1st round pick compensation, so there's no difference. So let me negotiate. And when it looked like he wasn't going to go to the Browns said, hey, let's get you a fully guaranteed contract, buddy. And he said, hey, you know what? Cleveland doesn't look so bad.
Yeah.
And that's when he went there. But it still requires it to be a trade.
All right, we're talking all sports bad trades, not just NFL, not just NBA with Luka Doncic. I want to hear the trade that really still haunts you for your team or just what you think the worst trade ever is. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Let's take a call. Jimmy in Ohio, the call screener I think has the wrong name, and I think I know what trade you were going to talk about. Jimmy, what do you think is the worst trade ever?
All right, worst trade ever. Frank Robinson for Milt Pappas.
Yeah, that didn't work out.
Frank, he goes to the Orioles. He's MVP, Triple Crown winner, World Series winner, and got to be the worst trade ever.
Thank you.
He's 30 years old, in his prime, MVP in the National League too, and just the worst trade ever.
Yeah, that's on a lot of lists as the worst trades. I don't remember that, but yeah, Frank Robinson's stats are silly.
The guy went to Baltimore. Next year was the MVP. So it doesn't get worse than that, right? You trade a guy and he's the best player in the other league. Like that doesn't get. And what I love about these older trades is, I see these legends, and I'm one of those weird sports geeks where I'll just spend hours on baseball reference or basketball reference or football reference just to learn the history of the sports.
EJ's a nerd.
And I'll go and do these things, and there'll be stories like that where I'll watch, and I'm like, why did Frank Robinson get traded? Who did he get traded for? And it never adds up. It never adds up.
No, it's like the Luka trade.
Yeah, exactly. I think 30 years from now, Manny Rodriguez will go to Basketball Reference and be like, why did Luka Doncic get traded? What happened there? Because he's so young,
So I'm looking. Frank hit 49 homers that year, which back then did not happen. That was incredible. All right, let's go to Wilson in California. Wilson, what do you think is the worst trade in the history of sports?
Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call. By the way, that Frank Robinson echoes a real bad memory for me in '66 when I actually attended a World Series game with my dad, and they blew the Dodgers out. I think the Dodgers still hold the worst batting, collective batting average. But
yeah, the Dodgers batted in that series a 142 for the entire series.
That's not good.
Yes.
No.
But we had Koufax and Drysdale, and they were hoping that would carry him through. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, I remember, but it was a great time in my life. Best memory of my life was going to see Koufax pitch his last game. Aside from my wife, my ex-wife, and my kids, it was the greatest moment of my life being pulled out of grade school to go to that game with my dad.
I would hope it'd be better than your ex-wife, but go ahead.
We're still on good terms, we got the family connection. But anyway, the worst moment for me was when the Dodgers acquired a young amateur prospect in the late '80s by the name of Pedro Martinez. They already had his older brother, but Lasorda didn't see him as anything more than a relief pitcher. He didn't think he was big enough. He was probably 135 pounds when wet. And I believe it was '94 they traded him to the Expos. And then we know what happened after he got under the tutelage of Felipe Alou and how his career went. He actually threw a perfect game for 9 innings. And in the 10th inning, he gave up a hit. They pulled him, but the Expos ended up winning that game.
Yeah.
And every time he took the mound, you thought he had the capability of pitching a no-hitter. But that's the one I remember. I know you guys got other calls, but just closing.
Listen, Karma made up for you.
I'm a Raider fan.
Yeah, Wilson.
Yes, sir.
You got Mookie Betts, so stop complaining about bad trades. And you got Shohei. The universe worked out.
You're absolutely right. Listen, just real quick, and I'm a diehard Raider fan. I've let this be known on your show. But if Shedeur drops down number 6, where the Raiders are, even though the Raiders need a receiver, they have a need on the defensive line. I think Brady is going to say, take this kid. And even though he's not going to start, he'll be in a Patrick Mahomes situation. I think you still get this equity with this guy, okay? And maybe he'll develop to be their quarterback. But then again, if he goes to 6, I think Brady will snatch him up in the Raiders. Anyway,
thank you, Wilson,
for taking my call.
Yeah, I mean, that's really one of the most interesting questions of the draft. I keep looking at this Raiders depth chart, and it's sad. It's sad, EJ. They right now, number 1 running back is Raheem Mostert, who's 33. Sincere McCormick, Zamir White, and I've never even heard of this fourth person on here. It feels like an Ashton Dylan Laub out of New Hampshire, who has 1 carry in his career. Ever heard of this guy?
No.
Anyway, it feels like Ashton Genty is the most common mock draft name to the Raiders, would bring them instant excitement, would make life easier for Geno Smith.
Yeah.
It's kind of the Pete Carroll, Marshawn Lynch formula. Kind of fits the mode where stashing Shedeur for a year or two, it works with the Packers. I don't know if it works for any other franchise.
And it would go against what we've heard from the Raiders brass, which is that they're a win now team.
Yeah, I mean, their coach is 72.
Yeah, and they said that we're not waiting for a long rebuild. We're trying to win, change this thing around quickly. How likely that is, I don't know. But drafting Shedeur Sanders, using your first round pick on a guy that you're not going to play, doesn't seem to fit that mold. We're
going to have draft expert Ryan Wilson from CBS Sports on soon. I'm curious, early on in this draft process, that was Teterow and McMillan, number 6. Number 1 wide receiver in the class, but he has fallen, and that has sort of cleared the path for Ashton Genty to probably be a top 10 pick, if not 6 to the Raiders, 10 to the Bears. We're going to get into that more, but I want to hear your bad trades. I love this because I have more. I have more trades that haunt me to this day. I mean, listen, I lived through the process. I know all about bad trades. Trust me. Give us a call, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4ISN. 888-866-4476. Coming up, the next NBA superstar who might ask for a trade. We'll get into that. Maggie Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Ethos Life, the easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam, just a few health questions. Get your free quote at checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Welcome back. Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie's out. EJ Stewart is in. The topic of the day is bad trades. After we saw Luka absolutely torch his former team, the Dallas Mavericks, last night, 45 points. Big Lakers win. Lakers head into the postseason. I think they're going to probably win their next 2 games on a hot streak. Look like they're going to be the number 3 seed, have a path to the conference finals. I mean, you got to admit, EJ, this is looking good for Lakers fans.
It is, and it's one of those things where I think you came into the season and thought, really, there's not much really to look forward to. We'll get to the playoffs, probably have a first-round exit. And,
probably to the Nuggets,
yeah. And then we'll just wait to see when LeBron retires, right? But now I think the whole dynamic has shifted, and now you're looking at, say, ooh, we're playing with house money now. What do we have? Like, what can we do in this postseason?
What were we actually talking about? Go back in your head, week 1 with the Lakers. It wasn't about LeBron.
Oh, it was Bronny.
It was Bronny.
That was the big story.
That feels like years ago. Now we forgot about Bronny. And actually, the Bronny thing has turned out maybe a little better than we thought. It's a little too early to say. But I want to hear your bad trade. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. The trade that haunts your team. I got plenty of them coming from Philadelphia. But let's get off some of the Sixers deals. Obviously, it's not a great time to be a Sixers fan. I want to hear your bad trades. Let's go to Dakota in San Diego. Dakota, what is your bad trade?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? So this one at the time made sense, I guess, but it didn't age all that great. I think the Padres trading James Shields for a prospect to the White Sox by the name of Fernando Tatis, I think I think that one aged a little bit poorly, I do have to say. James Shields is just totally out of the league, and Tatis is quite an electric player in MLB, so that one didn't age all that great.
Yeah, what happened to James Shields? He was good. He was good for a while.
He was really good, man, and then he came to San Diego. It never really blossomed the way that they were expecting it to, and, at the time, Chicago needed an arm. They really needed an arm. And you can't predict the future of a 16-year-old prospect, but man, that one did not age well, I have to say, for the White Sox.
Yeah,
of course.
Thank you, Dakota. Yeah, I bet you if we look through at some of the big MLB stars, a lot of them started on another franchise.
Yeah.
So I mean, listen, it's hard to evaluate a 16-year-old minor leaguer. So you see these trades at the deadline, and you're like, a lot of times those guys amount to nothing, but once in a while there's a Tatis in there.
The only thing about this Shields trade, which is so bizarre, is that the White Sox weren't even good. Like what? Like it seemed like an unnecessary move. They were not. They finished the season with 78 wins. I don't know if maybe they were in a better position at the trade deadline, but like this was not a team that was like a team that was a close one arm away from a title. So they seemed to have given up on a kid for a guy that wasn't going to make a difference whether or not they won in the playoffs or not.
Absolutely. Let's go to Jack in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Jack, what is your bad trade?
Yes. Good morning. I hear you guys talk a lot about bad trade aways. I'm thinking a bad trade for when Steve Kerr, who everyone loves as a coach, was GM of the Suns. He traded for Shaq, giving away Sean Marion. He also traded away JJ and Q. Pretty much dismantled, my team in the Zona before becoming the beloved coach. I'm from the Tug. I'm Bear Down through and through, but Steve Kerr, he's a tame puss.
All right, thank you, Jack. EJ, you remember this one pretty well.
Yeah, the Shaq thing. He became Shaqtus, which was a funny little nickname for Shaq for a little while. But they got bounced out of the first round. He was not in the greatest shape. That trade definitely did not work out. And it was weird with Kerr was that he did then rebuild, kind of like reshape the team, and they got to the conference finals and challenged the Lakers with Alvin Gentry as their head coach. It was like a mixed bag with Kerr. I wouldn't say it was all bad.
Yeah, Steve Kerr, we had a really funny thing. He used to come on the DP show a lot, and he was the Suns GM, and he had this line. You're not going to believe this, EJ. It was when LeBron was before the decision, Or maybe he was already in Miami, and he said, yeah, we would take LeBron for the mid-level exception. They had no money. And he got fined $25,000 for that.
Yeah.
For the mid-level exception, he was clearly joking.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Jason in California. Jason, we're doing bad trades. What's the worst trade you remember recently?
Probably not the worst trade in sports history, but it kind of stung me. I'm a lifelong Chiefs fan, been a Chiefs fan since way before Taylor Swift was ever born. And
good for you.
I think losing L'Jarius Sneed to the Titans, man, that one stung.
Wait, what are you talking about? I thought that trade kind of worked out for the Chiefs, but Sneed didn't do anything in Nashville.
Well, yeah, but he did a lot for us, though. I miss him. Just my own personal thing.
I feel like, all right, okay, cool. That's interesting. Thank you, Jason. I don't think of that as a bad trade. You know, the Chiefs are one of these teams where they let guys walk out the door, like the Patriots did, and you're like, oh my God, how could they let that offensive lineman or that cornerback go, and then they seem to still win?
Yeah, Snead only played 5 games for the Titans last year, but he wasn't important. He was a very important piece for the Chiefs the year before. That's one of those that maybe we will see in the coming years if it becomes a trade that they're going to regret. They don't regret it right now, I don't think.
The Chiefs should trade that Patrick Mahomes guy.
Yeah, that would help us.
Yeah,
right?
no,
McDuffie is so good as one
Yes.
one side that he kind of makes up for a lot of the whatever you're missing with Snead.
Well,
Show me
I mean,
something, Chiefs.
I disagree because they let Tyreek Hill walk out the door, still won. They let Charvarius Ward walk out the door, who's basically the same person as L'Jarius Snead. Their names almost have the same rhythm. So I just generally, I understand it hurt, and I appreciate that call. But they are, to be a dynasty, you have to make tough decisions. You have to, the Patriots we saw do for 2 decades. They had to let go of Logan Mankins. They had to let go of so many different players, Lawyer Malloy, Asante Samuel. And I know a lot of those guys are mad, but that's how you keep winning.
But then the question becomes, how many guys can you keep losing and keep winning titles? Because
Well,
it felt
the
like
Patriots-
this year they went into a game against the Eagles. They looked very outmanned. They looked
But
like a team
yeah,
that didn't
but-
have enough talent to match the other team on the other side. It looked like they didn't have enough guys.
But it had nothing to do with cornerback position. It was 100% about the offensive
Yeah, they
line.
couldn't block.
They couldn't block. I mean, their defense was actually pretty good last year. I don't think they missed Snead so bad. It seems to me like Chris Jones is the one guy you cannot lose on that. And that's the way they built their team, is like he's the only guy they're going to pay. I think they are bringing Nick Bolton, who I love, the linebacker, back. All right, let's go to Andrew Bogusch, who roots for teams who've had some bad trades.
Hey, thanks for reminding me.
By the way, EJ's holding one of your teams.
Got one in the chamber.
He's got one in the chamber to remind you of. Guess which
it's
one?
not a Ranger trade, I'm sure.
No.
I'm guessing
Yeah,
it's
EJ
Nets Celtics.
EJ's all in on the Rangers.
He's
It's
been
fine.
talking about every break when you're not in the room. He's been like, I can't wait to talk to Bogusch about the Nets.
I'm here.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, that didn't go well.
You gave him Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Now
I remember.
Everyone else in the NBA has to deal with the Nets' foolishness.
Yeah, no, you're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for that.
I can't remember.
Pleasure.
One of the worst ever.
Was that when they brought in Darren Williams, or was that the next set of trades?
That was when they brought in an old Kevin Garnett and an old Paul Pierce.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, now we run the Eastern Conference with these old geezers.
Which I liked, because then I live near Barclays Center. I could get in the building for $4 after that trade fell apart.
What are prices right now to see Day'Ron Sharp and...
Listen, I know. I'm a Sixers fan. I have nothing to say here. We're both in the same boat.
We are. First came the tears, then came the points.
Luka one-on-one against Max Christie, driving toward the bucket. Luka got there, throws up a reverse. Good, and he's got 40. 40 points for Luka Doncic in his return to Dallas.
John Ireland on Lakers radio. Luka finished with 45 points plus 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals in his return to Dallas. It was a 112-97 Laker win. Doncic wiping away tears pregame while sitting on the bench alone watching a tribute video.
So many emotions. Can't even explain it, Brought tears to my eyes. Like I said, I came as a young kid here with 18, and not knowing what to expect from NBA. And, they made me feel like home, and it's just a lot of great, great memories.
That was Luka on ESPN. The win clinched a top 6 spot for the Lakers and keeps them third in the West, a game clear of the Nuggets and Clippers. Denver winning its first game since firing Michael Malone, 124-116 in Sacramento. And LA outscored Houston 134-117 for a 6-game win streak. The idle Grizzlies are a half game behind the Clips and Nugs and a half game up on the Warriors.
Steph Castle to Harrison Barnes. Outside the arc on the left side. Will throw up a three left wing. That shot is good. Harrison Barnes nails the left wing three at the buzzer. And the Spurs have come back and taken care of business against the Golden State Warriors. A big upset in San Francisco.
That's Bill Schoening on Spurs Radio. If this was college basketball and the Warriors were on the bubble, this would go under bad loss on their tourney resume, a 114-111 defeat at home to the lowly Spurs. So at the moment, the Dubs would be in the play-in. Over in the East, the Magic clinched the 7 spot with a 96-76 rout of the Celtics, whose top 6 players did not dress for that one.
Back end of a back-to-back after playing at Madison Square Garden. Of course they weren't going to play.
Yeah. Also, they're locked into that 2 seed, so they're just coasting now.
I wish I was the Celtics, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for trading everybody to those guys for the carcass of Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Ray Allen.
And by the way, Cap also, now the Celtics may have just taken Tatum at 1, but Cap also noted that your Sixers also played a part in this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You guys, man, this is why these guys are the worst.
All to keep the Knicks down.
See?
Love it.
Mission accomplished. We learned
a kamikaze mission.
We learned yesterday that police responded to Tyreek Hill's Miami area condo on Monday for a domestic dispute. No charges were filed. Hill's mother-in-law made the call to police, saying Hill was agitated and threw a computer on the floor. His wife said they were arguing and that she is filing for divorce as they have gone through couples therapy, and that is not working. A Bogusch sack fly, top 11, got the Blue Jays a 2-1 win at Fenway. Vlad Guerrero Jr. had 3 hits after that 14-year, $500 million extension became official. The Twins blanked the Royals 4-0. The Phillies got a 4-3 win in Atlanta, dropping those Braves to 2-9. And from the NHL, Connor McDavid, 3 assists in the Oilers' 4-3 win over the Blues. Edmonton would have clinched a playoff spot had the Flames lost in regulation, but they fell in overtime, gaining a point, a 4-3 final for them in Anaheim. Guys, back to you.
By the way, are you going to be giving us some Masters scores later? They're about to hit it off the first tee any minute now.
You sound like a golf expert.
Well, no, I do like to bet on the Masters.
Victor Hovland.
I do like to bet. I was reading on ESPN.com, they had a panel of 12 experts. 8 of them picked Rory. So I am definitely not picking Rory McIlroy this time. But I kind of want to pick Scheffler, but the odds aren't great. What's the point of betting on a tournament? It's 4-1. That's not good. So usually I go Victor Hovland. I do a lot of Tommy Fleetwood bets.
Okay.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Fairway Jesus, love that guy.
Of course, yeah.
Shane Lowry was in full swing last season on Netflix, so I kind of fell in love with him. I'm a huge MW Lee fan.
Aren't we all?
Lee. So, and his odds are good. He's at 50-1. I guess he must not be designed for this course or something. I don't know if we should do some kind of, it's getting a little late. Should we do a little bit of pool? We have a home run derby pool where we all get one golfer.
I'll get Tiger Woods.
I might as well.
You're really good at these games.
According to his April 1st tweet, he's playing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get Tiger and give me the second pick.
Yeah. Hey, EJ, do you have a favorite here?
Arnold Palmer available?
Me. I mean, I don't know.
Aaron Judge.
Are you a Ludwig Oberg fan?
No, not really. No, not really, no. You named all those names, and I felt like Cal Mitchell and Goodberger. I was like, I know some of these words.
Here's my. You just missed it. My pick's Will Zalatoris.
Okay. Maggie picks Zalatoris every time. What's the
From
deal
Happy
with
Gilmore?
Zalatoris? Yeah. All right. I don't know where I'm going to lay my money here. I have about 20 minutes to decide. Got to get in on this. We'll get into that
Bryson
a little later. Yeah, you do know who he is, right?
I'm familiar with his work, yes.
All right. Change the subject to some.
That's a fairway Jesus
some
right
bad
there.
trades. After Luka returns to Dallas, torches the Mavs, we're debating the worst trade in sports history, not just NBA history. We got MLB, we got NFL, maybe some NHL. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Keep the bad trades coming right here on the Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds. Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie is out. EJ is sitting in the big chair today.
EJ, I just spent the entire break wasting money on some Masters picks.
Nice.
It's a little bit unpredictable. If Lucas Glover, I put $1 on him. If he wins, I get $157. So that'll be fun. I'll buy breakfast for everybody.
Ooh.
Yes.
It is very,
Fresh squeezed
very
orange
tough.
juice coming.
For everybody, $157? You could probably get 2.
I did. My biggest bet was that I went chalk with Scotty Scheffler. We'll see. It should be a lot of fun. Big fan of the Masters.
Shooter McGavin, what numbers are we getting for him?
You know, all those guys did show up in Shooter McGavin, too. I watched this documentary, which I love on Netflix, called Full Swing. All the golfers, even I think Tiger was even in it. Aaron Happy Gilmore, too. Comes out this summer. My buddy Dan Patrick is in it, of course. By the way, did you guys see Dan Patrick's show nominated for an Emmy, a sports Emmy yesterday?
Yeah.
It is if they win, everyone will say it's because Perloff's not there anymore.
Yeah, do you get a ring if they do? Or
Well, I was 0 for 5, got nominated 5 times, came away with no statue. People have said to me, will you be jealous if they win the sports Emmy without you? They don't know me very well. Not that I'm not a jealous person, but I will, in 10 years, claim, yeah, I was on a sports Emmy winning show.
Right. Yeah.
And over time, it will get lost whether I was actually there when they won the Emmy or not. So I'm full on rooting for them. And also, they're my dear friends. So it's funny because the Dan Patrick Show, I don't know if you follow the sports Emmys. It's nominated for Best Sports Studio Show. It's going up against PTI, Sports Center, MLB Tonight, shows with 170 people on staff, millions of dollars. Dan Patrick Show is 12 dudes in a warehouse in Milford, Connecticut. It is nothing like that. And another show that, of course, is on the Infinity Sports Radio Network, The Rich Eisen Show, same thing, a much smaller staff, and it's been nominated many times. I think it's a real honor that these smaller shows are right there with the big studio shows. I think it's super cool.
And the fact that they're radio shows, right? Like, I think that there's that aspect, too. Like, because SportsCenter obviously is television. Good Morning Football, I think, was nominated. That's also television. Like, these are totally different formats and different challenges that come with that. So,
well, they've talked about having a category of shows. I don't know how you worded live radio shows. So it would be, we could definitely be the Maggie and Perloff Show could nominate for that. Sure. The Colin Cowherd Show, Lebitard, Patrick, Rich Eisen. They have more. Some of those shows have more cameramen, more or less cameramen. DP Show, for one thing, was revolutionary because he started filming the breaks. Before Dan, there was very little bit of that. There was a little part on PTI where they would come back to Mike and Tony arguing, and Dan loved that. But you know what Dan Patrick loved the most, and the reason he did this, you guys might not even know the show. Do you know The Real World on MTV?
Yeah, of course.
The Confessional?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dan loved that. He's like, I'm going to put the producers, the Danettes, into the box, and they're going to share their thoughts for a minute. And people loved it.
Yeah.
So we would all say these stupid things. You might go in the box and say, man, I really screwed up that last segment. And you could only see it on DirecTV at the time. Then it was on Fox, and then it was on NBC. So I mean, it would be a win for the little guy if the DP Show beat out SportsCenter and PTI, which is $1 million. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, those are titans, right? Those are titans of our industry.
Oh my gosh!
So yeah, Dan Patrick and I want to give Dan and you guys in that show the flowers because you guys are a titan too. You guys were a titan when you were there. They're still a titan now. Like
the show's still awesome.
Yeah, it's still amazing, and they've done so much work for this field. Like I said, sports radio. So definitely a big shout out to them. And I've met those guys. You've been kind enough to have me meet Dan and meet. Paul, who I kind of look up to, is another executive producer. So, yeah they're a great group.
Have you actually met Dan? Did you?
Yes, we did Super Bowl.
Okay.
This was the first time I met Dan at Super Bowl this year.
Yeah. I remember this year I brought him up to, and Dan's like, yeah, you can keep him about Pearl.
I remember that. I was there for that, yeah.
I was like, thanks, buddy. No, Dan's the GOAT.
You trying to say that you're Anthony Davis for us?
Yes. All the guys behind the scenes, too, are amazing there. I think here, too. People always ask me what was it like to switch from Dan Patrick Show to this place. I got to tell you, I had heard some things about this building. I'm not going to lie to you because we share space with WFAN. And I had heard about the culture. I'm saying this because Maggie's out here. I heard there were some difficult people in the building before I got here.
You don't say.
Yeah, some famously difficult people. Right. But I walked into this place.
Story?
This is a great team feel. I think I like everybody here. And I know, EJ, you're the worst. You like everybody. I'm like, what do you think of this guy to fill in? You're like, he's awesome. What about this guy? He's awesome.
Yeah,
You're a cheerleader for most of the people in the building.
I really do. I believe in everybody. I see the best in people. which sometimes is a detriment sometimes, but for the most part, it's a positive.
I mean, there is that thing you said about Andrew who's filling in on the board, but that was just between us.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You're right there. Sorry. You're doing a great job.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Is that your first time on air?
I caught my name yesterday at the last second.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. I called you Anthony yesterday. That was bad. Scarpacci, yes.
Yeah, I go by Scarpacci, so that's why when it was like first name, I was like Andrew Anthony. I was like, well, I know him as Scarpacci. That's all I think about.
All right, and we're going to have to get that right to get in the sports Emmy conversation. But the topic today is bad trades. Well, I'll give you one more bad trade. When Dan Patrick in 2007 left ESPN, of course, the host of Sports Center, just the ESPN god, Rick Riley, the famous Sports Illustrated writer, said he was the Shelley Long of sports media. Wow. Shelley Long left Cheers and felt Dan was the exact opposite.
Oh, yeah.
He was the model for leaving ESPN and hitting it big. So that trade worked out very well for Dan Patrick, for me, and all the fans of the show. Let's go to Anton in Indianapolis. We're talking worst trades ever. Anton, what do you got?
I got a Hall of Fame pitcher traded twice, and both times it was a steal for the team that got him. Any ideas?
Pedro Martinez.
That might be possible, but I'm thinking Randy Johnson, one of the best left-handers ever.
Yes.
From Montreal to Seattle, and then Seattle to Arizona.
Not bad. Clemens only got traded once, right? Clemens could have maybe fit in that, but I feel like
Clemens to the Blue Jays, and I guess the Yankees. So
Anton, don't you put? Oh, Anton, sorry. Thank you, Anton. I put Pedro and Randy Johnson in the same conversation. It feels like they're forever linked as the guy like sea changes for the teams that got them.
And in part, it's because they both were leaving Montreal, right? like I think that's a big part of it, that they play for the same team. Like, the fact that the Expos have had some incredible talent go through their franchise and no World Series, and of course they don't even exist anymore. And you're like, how could a team that had Randy Johnson and Pedro Martinez at various parts of their history not even exist and have no titles to show for it? It's kind of incredible.
And they had some offensive stars too on that team.
Yeah, well, Vladimir Guerrero is one of my all-time favorites. He was an absolute stud. By the way, just real quickly, just housekeeping, Randy Johnson signed with the Diamondbacks, so that was only a one-trade deal. Now, he was traded from Seattle to Houston in a mid-season deal where Houston was trying to get an arm as like a rental. He pitched outstanding for them in '98, but they didn't win a championship. So he was traded twice, but the trade to Arizona was a signing. It wasn't a trade.
Yeah, he got traded to the Yankees from Arizona.
That was not a good trade for the Yankees.
That was not, no.
Yeah, he was beating up. Remember, he was beating up a photographer. You remember that story?
And now he is a photographer.
And now he
Full
is
circle.
Randy Johnson's a fascinating dude. Okay, by the way, Clemens ever get any Cy Young votes in New York?
No, he wasn't that great in New York. He was okay.
I think he was close. All right.
He was good.
Coming up, we got a big-time NFL draft expert. Next, Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. EJ sitting in for Maggie, who's on vacation. I'm sure she is on a couch watching the Masters as we speak. They've teed off in Augusta. A lot of pressure. Rory McIlroy trying to finally win to break through. He tees off at 1:12 p.m. We'll have updates throughout the day. Shortly, we're supposed to talk to Ryan Wilson, CBS Sports NFL draft expert. So the guy that everyone is focused on, EJ, is Shedeur Sanders.
Yep.
He is in Pittsburgh today, reportedly, visiting with the Steelers. Can you imagine? The Steelers are already a high-profile team. They get Shedeur. It's a no-brainer that they are 5 primetime games, right?
Yeah,
You don't even need Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. If Aaron Rodgers goes to Pittsburgh, we got into this yesterday, and Shedeur is there, how is that going to play out? Because it does feel like Aaron Rodgers' only option is Pittsburgh, and it does now feel like there's a great chance Pittsburgh can take a shot, maybe trade up a few spots and get Shedeur Sanders. How would you see it playing out ultimately?
Potentially badly. I don't love that fit. Now, look, if he's there and they have a chance to get him, they have to get him. They got to draft a quarterback here, and I think he's the second best quarterback in this draft. But I don't like the circus of Aaron Rodgers combined with the circus Shedeur Sanders, which is really more of a circus of Deion Sanders and what that brings, right?
Right.
Like if Aaron Rodgers is there, that means he's sitting there starting at quarterback, and Shedeur is looking over his shoulder, and Deion's looking over his shoulder, and that puts a lot of pressure on Rodgers and the Steelers to then win big. I don't think if they're a 500 team or a team that's kind of skating by to get to the playoffs, that's not going to please those Steeler fans. That's not going to please a lot of the NFL nation who I think when Rodgers gets there, there's going to be a lot of hoopla. And then it's going to become, when is Shedeur going to get in there? And we want to see Shedeur. And then that becomes a whole conversation. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the kind of guy that handles controversy, handles criticism very well. I think I have some clues, to suggest that that's the case. So if the city turns on him very quickly and is looking for Shedeur Sanders, he's not going to be handling that well. If Deion Sanders opens his mouth and says, hey, why is my son not playing? He's not going to handle that well. And I don't think that Mike Tomlin's a miracle worker. He can't get all of these elements in check. He's had problems with just Antonio Browns of the world, and he's having problems with the George Pickens of the world.
Yeah, who has not had problems with the Antonio Browns? The world's had trouble with Antonio Brown. Yes, of course he's had. Everyone's had trouble with AB. Let me just give you a pro-Steelers alternative here. What if Shedeur Sanders pushes Aaron Rodgers to be his best? Not just during the season. Means Shedeur is floating around. Aaron goes to the offseason workouts, which actually begin before the draft, April 21st in Pittsburgh. What if Aaron is not screwing around somewhere during, like he kind of did in New York in June, and he's actually with the team? What if Aaron is on his P's and Q's because Shedeur is there?
That's definitely a scenario that's possible. I guess the only counter I would have is I haven't seen that really push Aaron Rodgers for a little while, right? When we first saw them draft Jordan Love in Green Bay, we saw what happened. Aaron Rodgers put up one of his best, maybe his best seasons of his career. But when he got to New York, there was a lot to prove, a lot of pressure, and he was pushed to be himself, and he didn't get a chance maybe to prove it because he got hurt. But I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the answer. Now, I will say this is the last stop for Aaron Rodgers. I think wherever happens with the Steelers, he's not going to play anywhere else.
Assuming you're saying if he does go there.
Yes, which I think he will. This is the last stop. So to me, that's the biggest motivation of anything is, look, you're not going to be in the NFL if you don't get this thing right. Because other teams showed they didn't want him. The Steelers are the only team really, and the Giants were the only teams that really seem to be seriously interested. The Vikings looked and said, no thanks. So I think he knows this is his last stop. So that could be the motivation is, hey, if I want to end my career not with that Jet stain, let me do something here with the Steelers.
It's interesting we're talking about this. The topic of the day has been bad trades. After Luka Doncic returned to Dallas last night, torched the Mavericks, as you'd expect, 45 points. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. Do you put that in the list of all-time bad trades?
Yes, definitely. You have to. Because the Jets, when they traded for Aaron Rodgers, the goal was to compete for a Super Bowl. And they didn't come close. The first year he got hurt, and they won 7 games. And then last year he's healthy, or at least he plays throughout the season, and they win 5. So it was these 2 years have been a disaster. He left the program way worse than they were when he got there, which is impossible because it's the Jets, but it's a reality. Everyone's fired.
It's funny because there were some conditional picks in that, and I don't think Rodgers hit those conditions.
Yeah, because it could have been a first, but he didn't play. So
right.
So it would be a second round pick.
You brought up earlier the Deshaun Watson trade, which to me, I said is a different situation. Luka was a straight-up trade where both teams thought they were getting winning players.
Right.
Houston had to get rid of Deshaun Watson. A, he was already in trouble. B, before he was in trouble, he said, I'm not playing for this owner. He did not like him. So that was much more of a free agency situation to me. I don't put it on the same list. I think Russell Wilson to the Broncos is on a lot of these lists.
Yeah.
To me, it's the all-timer, the one that was worth documentaries, is Herschel Walker going from Dallas to Minnesota, gives Dallas the picks to build the 90s team. I just think that's the sort of signature. That's the Babe Ruth trade of the NFL.
I have a question for you, though, when it comes to trades, because one of the things we haven't really talked about, no caller has, is what about the trades that involve draft picks?
Right.
So, let's say, for example, Kobe Bryant was traded. We forget, but he was
right. But there was a reason,
right? And Dirk Nowitzki was traded, and the NFL, same thing, right? Ricky Williams was actually going to be a bad trade. That's one of the worst trades of all time. But it's a draft trade, right? How do they fit into this? Because I think you could make the case that there are other trades that we're not even thinking about where draft picks got traded. Scottie Pippen landed with the Bulls because the Seahawks.
For holding Polynese.
Yeah,
the Seahawks makes a lot of lists.
The Seattle Sonics traded him.
Well, Kobe though. Could you put Kobe on the list? Because Kobe said, do not draft me if you are not purple and gold. He was basically said, I'm not playing for you, to the Nets and to other teams. Yeah. I mean, Kobe fell to 13, right? And they traded that Vlade was part of that deal with the Hornets.
Yeah, I guess the only thing would be if you were any of those teams, like, why wouldn't you just call their bluff? Like,
well, we're getting into a whole other topic, but yeah, Kobe, people called Kobe a draft bargain because he fell into the teens. He didn't fall into the teens. He pushed himself, which we brought up today with Shedeur Sanders. Louis Riddick of ESPN said maybe Shedeur would be better off falling. I think, by the way, there's a guy next year, Arch Manning, could be in the draft next year. He's a guy who could say, don't draft me at number 1. I want to fall to number 4. I think he's already a millionaire many times over. His parents are rich. What does he care about being the number 1 overall pick? I think there are some exceptional situations when you're talking about draft day trades.
And we've seen it happen with other family members, right? I mean, one of his uncles, when he wasn't promised a starting spot with the Jets, said, all right, I'm going to go back to college. And then the other uncle was like, I'm not going to San Diego. Send me to New York. So we've seen the Manning family use that playbook to go where they want. So I think you're absolutely right.
But the funny thing, too, by the way, if Arch does go pro next year, my theory is that he'll play 2 years at Texas. I really believe that there's a great chance he doesn't go pro. He's still very young. He has a connection to the Giants with Eli. He has a connection to New Orleans Saints. He's from New Orleans. And he has a huge connection to the Cleveland Browns because the Haslams are good friends with the Mannings. So the Haslams who own the Browns. I still think he could say no to all those teams. I don't think the Mannings want him on a total rebuild bad team.
Interesting.
Because
I don't know about that.
I'm not positive. Listen, I mean, the Mannings, they've said no. Peyton famously didn't want to go to the Jets. There's a lot of rumors about what actually happened there.
Yeah.
But I think they didn't say, he didn't go to Ole Miss for college.
No.
He did not go to LSU for college.
Nope.
He did not go to Tennessee for college. So the Mannings will turn on their own. He went totally off the grid to Texas because he wanted to play with Sark, and Texas is awesome, and they have tons of money. So I think there is some precedent of the Mannings turning down their old friends.
Can I say something that may be crazy, this is the perfect place to do it because it's a radio show, right? Are we sure Arch is that dude? Are we sure he's like that? Because we've seen him.
We going here.
We've seen him play. And he looks good when he's lighting up against, Mississippi State or, some nobody university, as Doug Gottlieb said. But I still want to see a full season from him. Like, I want to see, we're just anointing him the number 1 pick. And later in the show, we're going to rank our top 10 quarterbacks, so we're going to see someone else's top 10 quarterbacks. I didn't really see him on those lists. I'm like, are we sure he's the surefire number 1 pick next year? I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just saying I want to see the evidence first.
This crap is crap.
We're going to have to cut that out of the podcast, the anti-Arch stuff right there. I can't believe, EJ, you're doing. I'm giving you a hard time. You're absolutely right. Our good friend, Quincy Avery, quarterback trainer, 2 years ago on the show said, I haven't seen Arch in a college setting yet, but I got to tell you, his last name is making a lot of people jump to conclusions. If his name was not Arch Manning, I think he'd be viewed as a blue chip prospect, but not necessarily generational, which actually sounds like a hot take, but it's not a hot take. If you actually sit back and say, what have we actually seen from Arch? He has looked really good.
He's looked good.
Yeah, he looks really good.
He hasn't done anything to say that he can't be that guy, which is why I think people are very excited about him. For me, it's just I want to see more. Like when he went into that game against Georgia, now those are carnivores playing on that defense. So I understand how hard that is. But you pull Ewers and Arch was in there, which a lot of of excited about.
In the middle of the game with no rhythm, that was not good.
I get it, but just you want to see some signs, right? We've seen great players enter a game, and because they don't have tape on you, you're able to change a game. He wasn't able to do that in that kind of game. And then we saw him being used like Tim Tebow, where he was a battering ram on short yardage plays. And I told you guys, I think the Mannings told sorry, hey, cut that out. And then we didn't see it anymore. So I just want to see a full season of what he has. He has all the physical tools. Yeah. He has a great arm. He's a great athlete. But I want to see him put it together for a season before I just jump in and say, yeah, he's definitely the number 1 pick next year or the year after that.
Okay. We're talking about bad trades. Interesting. Eli was part of a trade with the Giants and the Broncos. Kind of worked out for both teams in a sense. Because I think that
the Chargers.
Chargers, right. The Chargers took Phillip Rivers, who is a Hall of Famer. It could have been a lot worse. The Chargers also, I think, were they involved? Was it a trade for Michael Vick?
I was going to say, that was the other one I was going to bring up. I keep thinking about
But they got Drew Brees.
They got Drew Brees in the second round. They drafted LaDainian Tomlinson.
Yeah, so that actually was a win-win in a sense because Michael Vick was perfect in Atlanta. then that fell apart. But we want to hear your bad trade, the trade that keeps you up at night, the guy that your team dealt away. I'm from Philadelphia. I have a whole list of guys. Or second question, is the Luka Doncic trade already on the list as the all-time worst NBA trade? Could be 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We're also trying to track down our draft insider. Might be grinding tape in a place that has no cell reception. But we're going to hear from Ryan Wilson during the show as well. Figure out Shedeur is visiting Pittsburgh. I have bet on 9 different golfers to win the Masters. I'm spread. This is my
1-800.
No, little bets. I mean, listen, you guys want to jump on this with me. If all of a sudden, let me pull one of my, Keegan Bradley comes out of nowhere, our Ryder Cup captain, and he wins, free breakfast for everybody.
I mean, look, I want free breakfast.
Fingers crossed.
I'm rooting for you. I guess the question, though, becomes, because you talk about, we've joked about how I brag about saying I was right about certain things.
Yeah.
Can Perloff brag about getting one of these Masters winners right if he bets 9 guys? I don't think he can.
The question is not can I. The question is will I, and the answer to that is yes.
That's why I didn't ask that question, because I know the answer to that question. I'm saying for the rest of the rest of us, normal folks, can we look at him and say that he deserves credit for betting the right person when he's put in half the field? I don't think he can. It's like the March Madness tournament. You can't have 9 brackets
Moving
and then say,
on.
"Hey, I got the right guy."
You know what I just did? I did the 9 brackets. You're exactly right.
One of those?
Yeah. Well, in this case, I am. We'll see. Hey, come on. There's 100 golfers out there. If I can bet on 9 of them and one of them wins, you're out of free breakfast.
Why?
Yes, I get his OJ.
Yeah. When one of my long shots wins, when Jason Day puts on the green jacket, you are not getting a bagel, EJ Stewart. Sorry.
I'm an objective observer here, sitting in the host chair.
I'm getting extra locks.
Asking the right questions.
No, it's the wrong question, because it is obvious that I will brag to no end. Although, when we first started the show, I nailed a couple majors picks. I got Cam Smith at the British Open, and Maggie's like, wow, maybe Perloff does know golf.
That was where we got the Cam Smith impersonation, right?
Hello, mate. It's Cam Smith.
Sorry, audience, for that.
Yeah. That's on EJ too. Yeah, you keep screwing up here. Maggie, hope you're enjoying your vacation. Get back soon. No, I'm just kidding. And by the way, Manny, have you figured out where Maggie is yet?
Yeah, I actually got a text message from Maggie this morning.
What did she say?
She said that she's in the mountains of Dagestan. She is trying to become a UFC champion in 2 to 3 years.
Oh, so she's just lying to you.
So Maggie is in Dagestan trying to become a UFC world wrestler.
Okay.
I knew I shouldn't have asked. All right. Topic of the day, bad trades. Give us a call with your favorite bad trade, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Next, we're going to get into an NFL team that's saying they are win now. Win now? This team is win now? You'll find out which team we're talking about next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Theme of the day is bad trades. Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. Maggie's out. EJ Stewart is in. After Luka torched his former team, the Mavericks, last night, we've been having a great time today looking back at some of the bad trades. EJ, you have a list of NFL trades. Some of them are draft day trades a little bit, but man, you hear some of this, you're like, they did that?
Yeah, there's some, especially the draft ones, that you kind of forget, right? Because some of them maybe happen weeks or months before the draft. But, like, for example, I know we've had this guy on the show, and he's a friend of the show, Ryan Leaf. I forgot that the Chargers actually moved up one spot to trade. They traded their number 3 pick, which ended up being Andre Wadsworth, who was actually a good player. And they ended up moving, Chargers moved up to number 2. Does that qualify as a bad trade? Because technically they would not have traded. They would not have drafted Ryan Leaf. Not traded up.
That's the Mitch Trubisky situation. They didn't have to give up a lot though, because they only moved up 1 pick.
Well, one of those picks. No, they moved up 1 pick, but they made other. That was a massive trade. So they traded their second rounder in '98, also, who became Corey Chavis, who was like a veteran, and then they traded their 1999 first rounder as well. That became David Boston. So and Eric Metcalf was also in this trade. So they were good players that were in this trade.
Yeah, but Ryan Leaf is probably unfairly so always on the bust list.
I know, exactly.
He has a podcast called Bust. So that is, by the way, I don't know if I told you guys yesterday, I did this little thing on draft day. They mentioned Ryan Leaf in there. It was totally an unnecessary shot at him, the Kevin Costner movie. What about the Trey Lance trade, what turned out to be Trey Lance? The Niners trade up, give up a lot to go from 12 to 3, presumably to get Mac Jones, and then they draft Trey Lance and it doesn't fit at all.
And those are the interesting ones, too, because what happens when a team makes a bad trade, but they don't really feel the terrible, like, downsides of it, right? Like, Trey Lance was a bust for them. Like, they didn't even really play him. But they got Brock Purdy. They went back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
They've been a great team. You know, last year was a bad year, but like the Niners were still the Niners despite that trade. So like even though the trade did not work, does it go up to the level of some of the worst trades ever if the team themselves didn't really get hurt by it?
That's a great point. I would not put it on the list for that very reason. They took a shot with Trey Lance. As John Lynch has said, we took a shot, didn't work out. You know, the defending champion Eagles have taken some shots, haven't worked out. They signed Bryce Huff last year.
Yeah.
One of the worst signings of the entire offseason. Overpaid for the pass rusher, did nothing, and they were just fine. They won the Super Bowl. So if you're a strong enough organization, you can absorb a bad trade. I don't think the Mavericks are. I don't think they're going to absorb this.
And then the other one we were talking about before the break, and then staying with the draft stuff, what happens if you make a trade that maybe wouldn't be so bad if you didn't then make a terrible pick to replace that guy? So the Rams traded Jerome Bettis to the Steelers because they thought they were going to get a younger, sprier, better running back in Lawrence Phillips, who wasn't in part of the trade, but they drafted him very high.
Right.
And he had all these legal issues and all these problems. Like, where does that fit in? Where like the trade was bad already, but then what makes it worse is the moves you made that had nothing technically to do with the trade. Like, does Jerome Bettis going to the Steelers qualify? I mean, he was an all-time great Steeler, and he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, but I don't know if the Rams were going anywhere with Jerome Bettis necessarily.
Right.
And by the way, all that did eventually, maybe my timeline is led to the greatest show on turf. So that's another team that worked out just fine.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because of course, if a trade doesn't work out, you find a guy stocking groceries and you put him in a quarterback, and then you get Marshall Faulk, and all is good.
I was going to say, you don't think a 250-pound running back would have worked well in Mike Martz's great show on Turk offense?
Yeah. Gosh, I saw a highlight. I saw the special of the most exciting college players of all time, Marshall Faulk at San Diego State. Wow. Okay, so we want to hear your bad trades. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Let's go to Bryce in British Columbia. Wants to talk a little hockey. Bryce, what do you got?
For me, I'm a diehard Maple Leafs fan, so it would be trading Tuukka Rask for Andrew Raycroft.
Oh, God. You don't have to tell me, buddy. That one kept me up at night. And
the good news is
kidding.
If they didn't do that trade, they would never eventually got Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. So,
Oh, there you go. So it worked out.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't worked out with a cup, but it's worked out.
Or even a playoff series. Right?
Yeah.
The Maple Leafs can't get out of the first round. But I guess that's still, again, that's like they've been this way for years, though. So it was kind of like a wash, I guess. I don't know if it was on the worst, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Bryce. Bogusch, you're our hockey insider
Hard
here
pass.
at Maggie Perloff Show. What is the no?
I remember this trade. As you do.
What's the Herschel Walker trade of the NHL? What is the Luka Doncic trade of the NHL? Is there one that was just crazy?
The Gretzky trade from Edmonton to LA was bonkers for 19 different reasons.
But Gretzky forced that, right?
No, the owner was the Edmonton Oilers owner was like a crook.
Yeah.
And was running out of money, and he basically had to sell Gretzky.
What did he get back? Just money? Mostly money?
Money, picks, and players, but obviously not that you could ever replace Gretzky, but it didn't work.
I guess the other really bad hockey trade is Patrick Roy, right? That was an infamous trade where he quit
on the bench.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they had no choice but to trade him because the situation was untenable. But then he goes to Colorado, he wins Stanley Cups. He's still one of the all-time great goalies when he gets there. So that was also not great.
And I should point out, the Oilers won a cup after trading Gretzky.
No way.
So they didn't like fall apart,
Yeah.
but the bigger story is like Canada's collective heart broken by them trading him out of Edmonton to LA and then finding out why it all was going down.
Here's how I have the competition: 3 first-round picks, 2 players, and $15 million. Gosh, $15 million nowadays.
In 1990 what?
Yeah.
Which is,
I don't have the year here, but right. Even an NHL too, $15 million in the NBA right now. What will that get you? Like a third-string shooting guard?
Yes, a shooting guard on skates.
Yeah, well, that one certainly qualifies. Bogusch, you have not. You have some really bad teams. I feel like you should be haunted by some bad trades.
I mean, but backhanded compliment.
But nothing feels like the Nets Celtic trade is the only like historically bad trade. Like there are small ones within the Rangers and the Mets that bother me still today, like Mike Bordick and Melvin Moore in a trade, like stuff like that. But
the Mets with all those bad contracts, they never made a bad trade. They did. I looked at list.
I mean, they signed Jason Bay. They signed Bobby Bonilla.
Mo Vaughn.
Trading Tom Seaver away.
Yeah, I mean, but that's
Tom
before
Seaver,
me.
Nolan Ryan. Okay,
but those are before me. Exactly. I didn't live through either one of those things.
How did they let Tom Seaver and Nolan Ryan out of the building?
Well, I think they were not the only people who didn't understand what Nolan Ryan was. Like, because I think at least early he was a reliever, and I think he had control issues, and he didn't know how to not throw the ball like through the backstop. So I don't.
Nuke LaLoosh from Bull Durham style?
Yeah, I think that deal obviously got far worse in hindsight. But like the Seaver one, in the moment, people revolted. They got nothing for him.
Again, was it about money?
I don't know what that was about. Like, I don't know the full backstory.
Yeah, they talked about it in the '86 Mets documentary. I forgot what it was about, but essentially, they didn't allow Tom to finish his career as a Met, which is ludicrous.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about where those guys are in the history of baseball right now. Nolan Ryan, by the way, had many seasons where he had more losses than wins. I do not understand that at all.
It sounds like the Seaver thing was a contract dispute. Was at the heart of the matter. They didn't want to sign him long term, I assume.
SNY has the 5 best and worst Mets transactions. Tom Seaver is at number 1. Lenny Dykstra, number 2.
Oh, for Juan Samuel.
That's right, to the Phillies.
I was at the first game that Juan Samuel played as a Met, and they were not nice to him, as if he was the reason why the trade happened.
How about in 92 when David Cohn was sent to the Blue Jays?
Yeah, for Jeff Kent.
99, Jason Isringhausen was sent to the Athletics.
Izzy was a bust here, though.
Oh, my God.
And Scott Kazmir to the Devil Rays for Victor Zambrano and Bartolome.
That's my bad Mets trade.
What do we think about the Barry Bonds trades and the low-income teams giving away their superstars? Do those count as bad trades? I assume. Actually, I don't remember the compensation. How did?
I mean, the Marlins got nothing for Giancarlo Stanton in retrospect when they traded him gave up on him.
What did the Pirates get for Barry Bonds?
They trade Barry Bonds?
No, he just left.
He was a signing.
Okay.
Yeah. Now
they got nothing for Barry Bonds. They let that guy, and I'm sorry, I should remember this. They let that guy walk out of the building for nothing.
Yeah, I don't think they traded him to the Giants.
Nope, he left as a free agent.
Yeah.
That was a mistake.
Because they were really, they were a title contender, right? They had the Triple Bs and, the Killer Bs, rather. So I think they were trying to just play out the string. They were like, hey, let's hope we win a title with these guys.
But nowadays,
Bonilla and Bonds left.
That guy would always be traded at the deadline. They don't let guys like that get to the deadline anymore. I mean, past the trade deadline.
You say that, but then we saw the Angels do it with Ohtani, where they just
yeah,
and that was even
crazy.
More bizarre because they were not a title team. Like the Pirates, they were competing for championships. The Angels were competing for fourth place.
But the Angels hoped they could resign him. They tried everything to resign him. The Pirates were not trying to compete for Barry Bonds.
Correct.
So baseball, yeah, I mean, that one sure seems like it would qualify. That did not work out well.
Bonds left the Pirates for a then record $43.75 million over 6 years.
$7 million a year.
Wow. I don't know if Todd Gibson would get that contract.
$95.2 million in 2024.
There's an argument that maybe the Pirates today wouldn't give that contract to the same Barry Bonds.
You mean a 65-year-old Barry Bonds?
No, like in that same scenario, Bonds at that same point is the same player.
Yeah.
Like an all-timer already, hitting the open market, and he goes, I'll stay for 7 and 42, and they go, we'll pass.
Holsteins to the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, that's coming. That's next.
It's the worst trade list. Yeah.
It's a disgrace. I'm sorry. That whole aspect of baseball is the one thing that is. I mean, look, I'm a Mets fan, and I guess my team benefits from that. But I don't think it's okay. Like I want to see the best competition everywhere. I want to see stars everywhere, and seeing these teams just give up on their own fans essentially by letting these guys walk when those owners get to pocket on those profits. It's just low life stuff to me. It will never be okay.
How do you do this?
It's funny because I don't see. I'm looking at a lot of lists of bad Major League Baseball trades, and the Bonds one. Oh, because it's free agent, but Sosa's on there a lot. That's a little weird because yes, it was a bad trade to let him go to the Cubs, but I mean, come on, that doesn't count, does it?
Yeah, well, it's like maybe the wrong trainer, right? Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
They
like
traded for whoever Sosa's trainer was.
And obviously the A's have let a lot of guys go.
Yeah.
McGuire.
What's the John Smoltz for Larry Anderson?
Yeah, that's on a lot of lists.
Yeah, but Smoltz was a prospect at that point, I think.
Yeah,
and then he became John Smoltz. And what's the famous Yankee one that's a Seinfeld joke too? Jay Buhner.
Jay Buhner. How could we just play that?
Okay.
And then in the season finale,
I don't listen to the show.
You don't know what you're doing.
The season finale. The series finale. George's dad stands up and says, "How could you sign a Rabu?" Remember that? Everyone said it was going to be great.
Hideki.
Yeah,
honestly, Mookie Betts, he's gonna be up there. Like that trade.
Killed the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're back now, but still, that was.
I mean, and that's a good Luka comp because no one wanted him to go, and Red Sox fans were pissed and heartbroken that he's gone,
and can't understand why the Red Sox would have to cheap out.
Right.
Amazing. All right, what do you got? Headlines.
Well,
Bogusch?
as expected, it was an emotional night in Dallas. Luka crying during a pregame video tribute. Fans cheered him, chanted for Nico Harrison's job again. Luka then matched his season high with 45 points plus 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals as the Lakers cruised to a 112-97 win. J.J. Redick impressed.
His ability to then go perform, lights turn on, he's teary-eyed still as we walk out on the court for the tip ball. To have the emotional resolve to then go put on that kind of performance, it's superhuman.
Definitely no hyperbole there. The Laker win, clinching them a top 6 seed, so no play-in again for LeBron.
In the format that it is right now, anytime you get some rest, I speak for myself. Anytime I can get a week off from not playing ball, I'll take it.
The Lakers are still third in the West this morning, a game better than the Nuggets and Clippers, both of whom won last night. Denver 124-116 in Sacramento in their first game since their coaching change. The Thunder gave SGA, Lou Dort, and Isaiah Hartenstein the night off and still won in Phoenix, 125-112. That's the Suns' 8th loss in a row. It officially takes them out of play-in contention.
We want to talk about worst trades ever.
Yeah.
I mean, Bradley Beal. I mean, come on. And just worst big threes ever. I mean, the Suns are going to be on that list too. I mean, they were, again, Perloff thinks I'd ever, count my L's. I had the Suns winning the championship this year. So that shows you just how bad this thing has gone. This was a team that should have been contending, and they're not even in the playoffs.
Well, KD is in 2 bad big threes, though.
Yeah, he's Brooklyn as well.
Yeah. And Brooklyn, of course, has had two of the top 5 bad big threes of all time. Sorry, Bogusch.
That's okay. The Bulls took a 1-game lead on the Heat for 9th in the East with a 119-111 win over Miami. Josh Giddey, 28 points, 16 rebounds, 11 assists. And lastly, from the NBA, oops.
Doubt Jr. goes back to get it. Pass it off the dribble to the right perimeter. Driving on 2 members of the Wiz. Hangs, fires. Oh, man, it's good. He got a new season high. 26 points.
How dare you, Jeff Doughton Jr., a career-high 30 to snap the Sixers' 12-game losing streak.
Who?
122-103 in Washington.
One more time, please, the name?
Is that a G League result?
He is a G League player. I'm pretty sure that's the Jeff Doughton that played at Rhode Island in college, so that's an A-10 player.
Did you ever see him play live?
If it's the same Jeff Doughton, then I definitely did.
I don't think there's 2 Jeff Doughtons.
There's a senior, because he's Jeff Doughton Jr., and my mind is mush, so I could be completely making this up.
This is the part of the NBA season where guys play and you're like, sure. Like, you're telling me he's an NBA player, then I'll believe it. And that's bad for me because I love this league.
Yep, from Rhode Island.
There it is.
Rhode Island.
So now he gets to say he scored 30 in an NBA game for the rest of his life.
Yes.
With no context of it was April 9th. I was on the Sixers in a 12-game losing streak playing the Wizards, who barely had a team because they wanted the number 1 pick in that draft.
Do you remember when Malachi Flynn put up a 50 spot?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that as well. And
yeah.
Corey Brewer did it once too. Yeah.
Well, Corey Brewer was a bigger player than those guys.
Yeah, but I mean a role player, like not a star or at all. I think Terrence Ross has had some huge games. During the broadcast last night, I saw Mike Breen noted to Richard Jefferson that I think he's top 50 all time in games played. And Richard Jefferson was kind of like, I guess that's something I can tell my kids. But is that a stat that you can brag about?
Most games?
Yeah, games played.
It's not bad. He probably made a pretty penny.
Yeah, definitely made him rich.
He's also very funny on air, so that helps.
Yeah, he likes to crack a lot of jokes.
Yeah,
So he handles it well.
I'm a Richard Jefferson fan. I was a fan as a player too. That team almost won too. They came so close.
The Nets, yeah. He was those teams. Yeah. Man, you want to talk about trades that could have happened? What if the Spurs would have traded Tony Parker for Jason Kidd? Would that have actually worked? Like, would they have won titles?
Who knows?
Jason Kidd kind of fell apart a little bit towards the end of that.
I thought when the Nets got my guy Vince Carter from Toronto, that was the trade. All right, Bogusch, what else?
The Steelers, you were just talking about, they're still busy investigating non-Aaron Rodgers quarterback. Shedeur Sanders visits Pittsburgh today. Syracuse QB Kyle McCord expected in town next week. Jalen Milroe reportedly meeting with the Giants, Rams, and Seahawks over the coming days after hanging with the Browns on Monday. And Pearl, for you, we're going to do a quick soccer aggregate lesson here, going back to hour number one. Okay,
hit me. I'm taking notes.
So in the knockout rounds of most tournaments, teams play a home-and-home series, and the winner is based off the total score from those two games.
Oh, like in the World Cup?
No.
I thought in the World Cup in the opening round.
No, World Cup is group play and then straight.
In your group, I thought it was like how many goals you had, right? No?
Well, that's goal differential.
Oh, that's not what aggregate
tiebreaker.
is.
No, aggregate is you play two games and you add up the scores, then you see who wins.
I have no idea what you're talking about. And so isn't that the same thing as goal differential? As
no, because in group play you play three matches, and if there are
you
ties,
have to have a tied record.
Yeah,
right. So aggregate, it doesn't even matter what your record is; it's just the goal count.
Right.
Ooh.
So like if you win 1-0, but then I win 2-0, I move on because I win 2-1 overall,
regardless of the win-loss record.
Correct.
Got it.
And then road goals mean more.
Road goals is the initial tiebreaker, right, which is where we get to last night. This is the second leg, as they call it, Inter Miami, LAFC, CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinals. Inter Miami was already down 1-0, gave up a goal last night. So now they're down 2-0 on aggregate, and they've allowed a road goal for LAFC. So they had to score 3 goals last night, give up 0 to advance, and that's what happened.
Messi from the penalty spot can give Inter Miami the lead on aggregate in the CONCACAF Champions Cup quarterfinal if he could put this away on Hugo Lloris.
That's John Strong, FS1. The Messi PK came in the 84th minute. He also scored in the first half to begin their rally. So Inter Miami moves on 3-2 on aggregate and gets to play the Vancouver Whitecaps in the semifinals.
Vancouver defeated Pumas of Mexico.
On away goal tiebreaker, I think.
Look at that. And you know what? Even in Europe, they don't have the away goal anymore. So what's CONCACAF doing? I digress.
Bogusch, you seem really annoyed with me, but I found that very helpful.
I'm not annoyed with you.
Yes, that was actually, I'm going to explain to another friend later today what on aggregate means. I'm like, yeah, of course it was going to go on aggregate.
Well,
like I've always known.
Sorry, Sarah.
We have to put Perloff to the test. We've got Champions League this afternoon, 3:00. So it'll be the first leg of the quarterfinals of Champions League. So
No, we've got Europa today. It's Thursday.
Oh my goodness! I thought today was Wednesday.
No,
yeah,
Champions League
we
is
got
done.
Europa.
Well, aren't you going to be watching the Masters?
No, I'm going to be watching the Europa League. Are you kidding me?
Oh boy. Well, both we can agree we're not watching bad NBA basketball. Who I've already forgotten the name. Jeff Doughty Jr.
Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
You want to do relegation next hour?
NBA should do relegation.
Yeah.
All right, but we're not doing that today. Today we're doing bad trades. We got a lot of them, and you guys are calling in with great ones. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Soccer trades don't count, by the way, because that's all about money, right? There's no, real soccer trades. Am I right, Bogusch?
Well, very seldom do you actually get players exchanged.
It's
usually
about
just money being exchanged for a player.
Who's going to buy? But I like the trades where it was really where both teams thought they were getting players that were going to win, and one team was dead wrong, like the Mavs and the Lakers. We'll get to that next, right here, Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
sleeps. He's got the road trip blues. Left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio. Can't believe his eyes. But Bogusch stuck at home. His heartache amplifies. Betting against Wembyama, Perloff took the fall. But it's Bogusch left behind, feeling 10 feet tall. A loser in his own right, can't catch a break. Road trip dreams shattered, for goodness sake. For goodness sake. Bogusch counting the minutes, ticking like a clock, while Perloff's cruising highways, Hilarion talk. Andrew Bogusch had a plan on a sunny afternoon. Grabbed a bat and took the field under the summer moon. He said, Jack, let's show 'em how the Bogusch boys can play. But little did they know he had whiskey in his sway.
Oh, Andrew Bogusch swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat.
Jack's team was laughing as Dad took his stance, wobbling at the plate in a tipsy baseball dance. The coach was shaking his head, moms were all aghast, but Andrew Bogusch grinned, living in the past.
Oh, Andrew Bogusch swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat. He hit a grounder to the shortstop, tried to make it to first, but he tripped over his own feet. Oh man, it was the worst. Jack was on the mound, his face turning red. Come on, Dad, get up, this game's far from dead. Oh, Andrew Bogusch swaying side to side with a bottle in his hand. He gave it a good try, swinging at the pitches, stumbling on his feet, drunk on the diamond in the summer heat. He hit a grounder to the shortstop, tried to make it to first, but he tripped over his own feet. Oh man, it was the worst.
.30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
As yesterday. Oh, I have the wrong lyrics. Okay, this portion of the show is sponsored by Hyundai. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event is going on now. Get deals so right, it almost feels wrong. But don't wait. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. Does that song exist other than That 70s Show?
I don't think so. I've never heard it. I mean, I've only heard it since that show came out.
Yeah, if it does, sorry, we apologize. Andrew, by the way, is on the board today. EJ was saying some not nice things about him earlier. No, I'm just kidding. EJ, for all his flaws when it comes to NBA opinions, lifelong Knicks fan, that's all I need to say, is the most supportive coworker there is in this building. I will give you that.
I appreciate that. Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, I see the good in all people. So of course I never throw Scarpacci under the bus.
EJ was the first one who trained me on the board.
Exactly. There you go.
I'm the opposite. Everybody in this industry is like, oh, man, I can't wait to mentor younger people. I do not like young, talented people coming from behind. I am rooting against all of them. I remember I was at Sports Illustrated when Pablo Torre came along. Everyone's like, isn't he great? I'm like, no, he's not great. He's not great. I don't want somebody who's younger and smarter than me in the building. It's a consistent problem. Anyway, that sounds bitter.
Yeah.
That sounds a little bitter.
Yeah, it does.
No, it's called honest. I'm the only honest person on air.
Well, it is honest. I can definitely confirm that.
I'm half joking. Only half. Let's get back to some bad trades. Give us your worst trade for your franchise. 888-710-4ISN. 888-710-4476. Let's go to Juan in Oakland. Juan, what is the trade that still haunts you?
Yes, hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. The worst trade, since I'm a big Raider fan, will be back in 2019 when the Raiders traded for Antonio Brown.
Oh, there was so much hype. Is that when he froze his feet?
Yes. That was when he was in Napa. Yeah, making a big deal. When they were on Hard Knocks, too.
I actually was psyched for that. I thought that was going to work out. Because obviously he had all the talent. Listen, it's been kind of a rough road for your Raiders. Thank you, Juan. That was a trade that I think we look back on now saying the Raiders should have known. But at that exact time, we did not know. We did not know what Antonio Brown was going through.
No, he was causing some issues in Pittsburgh, and the one thing I will never forget is him having that blue mustache going on the shop. Like, that was the one sign where I was like, this guy might not be all there.
Well, how'd he do on the shop?
He was throwing Ben Roethlisberger under the bus. He kind of was acting crazy on there, but what was funny was that, like, LeBron and Maverick Carter were kind of like, like I think they thought he was kind of like playing up a joke, and then they didn't realize they were sitting next to the Joker.
Yeah.
Like, they were sitting next to a guy who had some screws loose.
Well, doesn't he? I don't know if it's his Twitter handle or he always tweets CTESPN, says in CTEs and brain trauma. So maybe that's exactly what happened with him.
I am one of those folks who definitely feel like there is a pre-Vontaze Burfict hit with Antonio Brown, post-Vontaze Burfict hit.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, because he was not like this. I know that Ryan Clark will say, "Hey, I saw signs that he was maybe a guy you don't want to give money to," but he was not this overtly over the top before that hit. And it seemed like he got hit and was knocked out of that game, and then it was like we saw a different person after that. And we know what happens with concussions and CTE, that can happen to you.
Mr. Big Chest. I have to check with our friend Rich Eisen, Infinity Sports Radio Network. I think he had Antonio Brown on after the Burfict hit, and it was 2 weeks later, or it was maybe my former show, the Dan Patrick Show. His eyes were still red. Or you could see concussion symptoms in real time.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where Antonio Brown was very likable.
Yes, absolutely.
Popular, humble, small school guy. Of course, played with J.J. Watt in college.
Yeah.
Funny, I think they were on the same receiving corps because J.J. was a tight end and one in the Central Michigan.
Central Michigan.
Yeah. Yep. He was a darling.
I know. Yeah, we should do that one day as a great debate of, I guess we did, maybe heel turns. Yeah, we did that a couple weeks ago. But, I mean, we didn't mention Antonio Brown, but he's definitely up there.
Yeah, that Burfict hit was crazy. And it cost the Bengals the game.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Then Juju Smith-Schuster, by one of the most underrated hits of all time, got Burfict back the next year.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster, Mr. TikTok guy, is one of the toughest players ever at that position.
That's why
he took Burfict out like there was no tomorrow to get revenge, but it did affect AB. That's a great point. Let's go to Sean in Oregon. Sean, what do you got for a bad trade?
Hey, thanks for taking my calls this morning, guys. You got to put Deshaun Watson number one on there, brother.
Yep.
That's got to be number one worst trade all ever. And then I think people forget how good Kareem was. Dude, Kareem was the very best player all my life. I mean, I got to tell you, for 11 years, he was first or second all defensive team. He was a scoring leader. He was like looking up to Gandhi for me. That's the guy, brother.
Sean, let me put you on the spot here. Do you have him ahead of either LeBron or Jordan on the all-time player list?
I think I do, brother. I think LeBron's kind of like right there. I think LeBron's kind of taken over as the number one player. But look at what Kareem has done through different coaches, all different people around him. I look at Michael Jordan. He's like Kobe Bryant, brother, and I'm going to still say this. He never did nothing before or after Phil Jackson. Look how he withered away.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to say he's great. one of the greatest players. One of he was, the dog in the fight. That's those guys. But as far as like an IQ level, he ain't got the IQ of Kareem or LeBron, brother. Not at all.
Ooh,
have a great day, you guys.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate your words about Kareem, because I agree on that. Disagree on Jordan and IQ, but I do like exalting Kareem because he was awesome. Let's go to, is this Ham in East Bay, California? Ham, what do you got for a bad trade?
Hey, what's up? Good morning, guys. Worst trade ever. One of the rare ones that happens when they include the coach. The Oakland Raiders traded John Gruden away to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, only to lose to them in the Super Bowl the following season.
What did they get for it? But they got they got a pretty good pick, though. What did they get, Ham? They got a first rounder?
Yeah, I believe they got a first rounder.
Yeah.
But come on, they go and they learn the Raiders playbook just to choke in the Super Bowl against their former coach. Come on. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Ham. That's the first Super Bowl I've ever been to live. Was that
They had two first-round picks in that trade.
Wow, crazy. Bill Callahan took over. That was the first Super Bowl because I bought tickets because the Eagles were supposed to get to that Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
And I was sure, and our buddy Tiki Barber's brother ruined all that. Rondé, the Eagles lost to the Bucks.
And Joe Jarvicious, too.
Yeah.
You go, Joe. You go, Joe. You go, Joe.
Shut up, EJ. Let's go to Larry. Larry in Omaha. Oh, this is one of my favorites. Larry, we don't have much time. Real quick, what is your bad trade?
Guys, there's nothing worse than the Milwaukee Bucks sending Dirk Nowitzki away for a robber tractor trailer. Worst trade ever. Undeniable. War Marvin winning a sports Emmy. I'm out.
Wait, is that? Oh, okay. That's the DP Show reference. Yeah. My replacement, Marvin, who's also awesome, I might add. So I don't think that's fair either about Dirk, because a bunch of other teams passed on Dirk as well. He fell to 9, and then Paul Pierce was 10.
It goes back to that whole draft day. Like, if a team drafts somebody for someone else, does that count as a bad trade?
All right, coming up, we'll talk a little more about Luka and the history of terrible, bad trades. Maggie Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Luka driving, scores again. 45 for Luka. Timeout Dallas. And the Lakers embrace Luka at half court, and he gets a standing ovation from the fans here in Dallas. And we'll keep it here so you guys can hear this. This is really cool. Every fan in a visiting arena is on their feet applauding Luka.
That's courtesy of John Ireland, Lakers Radio Network. Is it really cool? Welcome to the Maggie Perloff Show. Maggie's on vacation. EJ Stewart filling in. Is it cool? Is it cool that the Dallas Maverick fans were cheering every time Luka touched the ball, that they are all in on their former star while their team is going to be very lucky to get out of the play-in? They are now the number 10 seed in the West. I don't know. I'm thinking about if this was Philly, they would not be cheering. I guess.
Really?
I know. They don't cheer anybody. Are you kidding me? They don't even cheer their own stars. But there is something a little weird about a guy leaves via trade and you're cheering every time he touches the ball. Like, this is not the way it's supposed to happen.
No, but in some ways, I think this is a great thing about sports, right? Because we talk about how much these players, it feels like, oh, they're making so much money. They don't really care. They don't really care about the city they're in, the franchise they play for. That is clearly not the case with Luka Doncic, right? We saw how emotional he was sitting on the bench watching those great moments in the tribute video. We saw how much that connection with the Dallas fans affected him and it affected the Mavericks fans. This is not a, typical superstar gets traded and forgets about where he went. This is a love affair that was real, which makes it even more bizarre that they made this trade, right? Like, I think there were some rumblings that, hey, maybe Luka's not too happy with some of the direction and he could be a little moody. But, I mean, all that stuff, you have to throw that out the window. Clearly, this is not a place he ever wanted to leave because of how he acted, and the fans showed him that love. So I actually did think it was cool.
Yeah, you know what? You convinced me. That is kind of cool. There was also seconds into the game, literally seconds, not even minutes, a fire Nico chant. Nico Harrison, the Mavericks GM who made the trade, we've been debating all show, will it go down possibly? I mean, it's possible that this could be the worst trade in NBA history. A lot of people have brought up Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from the Bucks to the Lakers. There's my Sixers gave up Moses Malone to the Washington then bullets for Jeff Ruland. You had a fun one from the chat, Infinity Sports Radio Network YouTube chat, involving Moses Malone as well.
Yeah, because I think, for Sixers fans, you're talking about the negative, but you forgot the positive, right? That the Sixers traded for Moses Malone, who was the MVP of the league, playing for the Houston Rockets, took the Rockets to a championship, faced the Celtics, took them to 6 games. Rockets needed to save money, so they traded Moses Malone in the prime of his career, got back Caldwell Jones, and a future first-round pick that ended up being Rodney McCray.
That's a great one. Now, a lot of times NBA guys leave as free agents. LeBron was never traded, correct?
I think technically they made it a sign and trade just to help out Cleveland, but it was not really a trade.
And Shaq was not the original Shaq deal from Orlando to LA. He was a free agent.
That was
right?
a free agency.
So because there are these really moments in the NBA where superstars change the course of the league.
Yep.
Wilt Chamberlain leave Philly for LA. And I think Luka is right in that conversation. The question is, will he win a title? I think the Mavs better be praying he does not. But it could happen. You even think it could happen this year, EJ?
I do. I mean, I look at this Laker team, and a lot of it is because of the fit between Luka and LeBron. Because I think that was the only thing that for the Lakers, you looked at and said, okay, like, how does this actually work? Because in some ways, Luka and LeBron are actually really similar. They're both like point forwards.
Tall. They have similar skill sets.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like, can these guys work together? But in some ways, I think Luka has actually helped LeBron so much because LeBron now doesn't have to carry so much of the load for so long in the game. He can do what he did last night, which is he can kind of pace himself, let Luka score 35, 40 points. And then once Luka starts to wear down a little bit towards the end of the game, he can say, all right, it's time for me to go. The Dallas is taking the lead. He can go on his own 9-0, 11-0 run and just put the game away. And that's if you're talking about these playoff teams, that's a dangerous thing that you got to deal with Luka Doncic for 3 quarters, and then you got the king waiting for you, and he's fresh. That's not a good sign for the rest of the league.
My concern with the Lakers and Luka is the cold shooting. Luka will have a 1 for 10 from 3. And if it's at the wrong night in a big game where Luka, when his 3's dropping, forget it. He's impossible. When it's not, but there are games where it's not dropping. So we'll see. Obviously, I think Oklahoma City Thunder are looming, and they can defend those guys probably better than anyone else out there. Got a lot of wing defenders. Yep. But the topic of the day is the history of bad trades around sports, not just NBA, MLB, NFL, hockey. If you can think of a soccer one, we want to hear about it. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Let's go to Derek in Baltimore. Derek, what do you got for bad trades?
Man, a bad trade is, how about Washington? Would they trade like their entire draft pick to the Rams to get RG3?
Yeah, they gave up a lot. I was just watching the movie Draft Day, and they talked about that trade. But RG3 was Rookie of the Year. He was sensational. At the moment, it looked like a great trade.
Yeah, but it was literally 1 year. After that 1 year, that was it. And one of those draft picks for the Rams ended up being Aaron Donald.
Oh, you didn't have to tell us that. That hurts.
Yeah, they ended up turning them draft picks into like 3 or 4 other really good players. But Aaron Donald was one of those players. And like I said, if RG3 would have lasted maybe 3 or 4 good years, then it maybe wouldn't have been a bad trade. But you traded like 5 picks for essentially 1 year. After that hit against the Ravens, his knee was done, and that was a wrap.
That was, you know what? Washington brought that on themselves, though, Derek, because the field was bad in the playoff game. He was already partly hurt. Shouldn't have been out there. That is their fault. And I got to be honest, the way the franchise was run under Daniel Snyder, they would have ruined Aaron Donald too.
Hey, no lie about that, man. Good Lord.
Yeah, Derek, I don't know which team you root for, but you got to be happy now if you're a Washington fan.
Well, I'm a Niner fan. So
okay.
If a worse trade for me personally as a Niner fan, it would have to be the Trey Lance trade. Even though quarterback-wise it didn't hurt us, but giving up all those picks for a guy that had no business being in the NFL at that time, that was terrible.
What about you're a Niner? Are you a longtime Niner fan? What do you think of trading Joe Montana to the Chiefs?
Now, see, I wasn't watching football then. I heard about it. That was in '93, correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I really don't know much because I wasn't watching football then. But in hindsight, I mean, you look at what Steve Young did, MVP, and won the Super Bowl. So that kind of worked out for both. But a bad trade is like good for one team and terrible for the next. And
yeah,
that Trey Lance trade up, oh my God, that was, I have no idea who co-signed on that because I thought we were going to take Mac Jones.
Yeah.
That at some point, that has to be a documentary, a 50-50 on who decided Trey Lance at 3 was the guy.
But Shanahan changes his mind on quarterbacks, and which, by the way, I'm curious to see how long he's in love with Brock Purdy. Thank you, Derek, for the call. I appreciate that. EJ, you had a great point. The fact that the Niners found Brock Purdy is the only reason that this might not go in the list of bad trades.
Right. It's the idea of, like, what happened to the team in terms of, like, did they suffer? And I don't think you can say that they suffered. Just quickly on Aaron Donald, he was one of the draft picks in the next year, but he actually wasn't the pick that they used. It was a Greg Robinson, but he was in that same draft. Maybe they take Donald at 2. I don't think so, but either way, that's the one thing is sometimes I feel like with a trade, you have to see the dividends on both sides. Like I think with the Rams, you would have had to have seen them take this massive step up immediately. Remember, those were the Jeff Fisher years. Like they were awful. Like they were kind of middling in the middle of nowhere.
But Jeff Fisher 8-8 all the time.
So I think when you talk about the worst trades of all time, well, I think it does qualify. Even though RG3 got hurt, you got to see the other team really thrive. And I don't know if you saw that with the Rams.
I brought up the Joe Montana trade. The flip side, they fleeced the Bucks. 2nd round and 4th round pick for Steve Young in 1987. Now, at the time, Steve Young wasn't good, but that worked out pretty well for the Niners. Let's go to Keith in Missouri. Keith, what do you got for a bad all-time trade?
Well, I'm a 49ers fan, too.
Okay.
So I was thinking of trading Charles Haley to the Cowboys. They just won a couple of Super Bowls, and then he goes over there and leads their defense. They win a couple more, beating the 49ers to get to those. So that would have that one and the Joe Montana would have been the top 2 for me because, like you said, Trey Lance didn't really miss it that much because you already had a quarterback that was playing, and then you got another one that came in and did just as good as he did. So
now, Keith, I don't know the backstory, but I'm assuming Charles Haley was temperamental at the time. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I think that he was a lot to handle.
Yeah. Well, they shouldn't have got rid of Joe, and then that might have helped.
Yeah, it's a good point. And obviously, Bill Walsh. Thank you, Keith, for the call. Bill Walsh was gone at that point. Man, Haley was a baller, but he was terrifying. As an Eagles fan, you could see him on the sideline. He just looked angry all the time.
Yeah, one of my favorite things is watching these old NFL films, videos, or shows and talking about kind of like that era. And Charles Haley and the character that he was, like the Niners have this dynasty, and they're trying to see what the next phase is post Joe Montana, and they ship out Charles Haley because he was such a malcontent and such a loose cannon. They sent him to Dallas to go with a bunch of other loose cannons and stuff, but I don't think they realized that they were really helping their arch rival that was going to be kind of the rivalry of the 90s. Like they were going to have to deal with Charles Haley in big games, and he gave them problems. He gave everybody problems as the Cowboys really began that and started that dynasty with Jimmy Johnson. But, yeah, that was also one of those crazy trades. The Niners and Cowboys have a weird thing going on. Deion as well. A lot of guys went back and forth.
So Charles Haley gave an interview recently, by the way. I think he probably got a bad rap as a bad character, and he was thoughtful and interesting. Yeah. You know what? I think, who knows? He was a young man, and it was part of his game, too. He had to be angry to be effective.
Oh, yeah.
And also he's talked about mental health issues. Yeah. So Charles Haley, I think, did he make the Hall of Fame? I think he made it recently.
If he isn't, he should be there, in my opinion.
Let's go to Dominic in San Francisco. Dominic, what is your bad all-time trade?
Hey, thanks for taking my call yet again. It all depends on what your definition of bad is, not to quote Bill Clinton. But my opinion, the all-time worst trade borders on blasphemy is when the San Francisco Giants, traded Willie Mays to the New York Mets for some pitcher named Charlie Williams and $50,000.
Yeah, but Willie Mays was at the end, wasn't he?
He was terrible for the Mets.
No, that's why I prefaced it with it all depends on what you do. Willie Mays you don't trade Willie Mays for $50,000. You just don't.
Yeah, it was the wrong thing to do. That's a different category, though, Dominic.
It was the wrong thing.
It's a bit of a different category.
Pardon me?
It's a bit of a different category, though, because then you're saying, hold on to the guy.
Would you consider that a good trade?
No.
Would you consider that a good trade? Well, then it's a bad trade.
All right, fair enough. Your logic holds. Thank you, Dominic. Thank you. I mean, listen, the Giants, as we said before, got Barry Bonds, but it was in free agency. So you guys have benefited from some trades or moves over the years.
Yeah, they've won a lot of titles. But that is an interesting category when it comes to bad trades because I think, trading the legend, the guy that played their entire career there, you would think maybe could end his career with one team. Do those qualify as bad trades? I know Knicks fans look at Patrick Ewing and trading him at the end of his career and being like, first of all, it was bad, just basketball-wise.
That was a trade to Orlando?
To Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah, he traded him Seattle. They got Vin Baker back. That was a joke. But there were a lot of things that went into why they did that made it bad from just a basketball standpoint. But regardless of basketball, Patrick Ewing deserves to retire a Knick. Hakeem Olajuwon getting traded to the Raptors. I mean, come on. Hakeem Olajuwon, he should end with a rocket. And so there's those two where it's okay, maybe Willie Mays was well past his prime, but what's it worth to trade him? Just keep him, let him retire, and then you move on after.
I mean, we've done that many times. Guys who ended their careers in the wrong uniforms. Joe Namath of the Ram. I was going to say OJ is a Niner. That doesn't count anymore.
Johnny Unitas with the Chargers.
Johnny Unitas with the Chargers. Emmett is a Cardinal.
Jerry Rice playing with the
I was just
Seahawks.
looking. I was actually just looking up, how did Rice leave the Niners? As a free agent or as a trade? It had to be a free agency, right?
Right, went to the Raiders, right?
He was released by the Niners in June 2001 and went to the Raiders, where he was very effective.
Yeah, he was great for them.
Him and kind of an older Tim were really good. It's so funny. We keep coming back to that Super Bowl, the 2001 Super Bowl, which is not talked about a lot. When John Gruden took Tony Dungy's team and whooped on the Raiders, where Bear Robbins was missing, a lot of legendary players in that one. And it's a lot of Hall of Famers on that Tampa Bay team. I bet you, Tampa Bay, we have to look through their history. The old Bucks felt like they were involved in a lot of lopsided trades.
Yeah, I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but, we mentioned Steve Young.
Yeah.
Obviously he got traded, Tampa. But Tampa Bay also
second
traded,
and fourth,
Yeah, Tampa also traded Doug Williams, who's a bust kind of, but he did take him to the playoffs early in his career.
Yeah,
he ends up being a historical figure, being the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl.
He was not a bust at all. I mean, his numbers might look bad, but he took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to the NFC title game. He was a very talented player, and the funny thing too is, did he then get traded by Washington as well? I think he might have.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, he had a very interesting career. I once, when he was an executive with Washington, I sat next to him in a game. He is one cool dude.
I can imagine.
He's got a great history.
Every time I see him, even now when he does interviews and stuff, he seems like a great time.
He's laid back. Yeah. I would say that. He's from the South somewhere, right?
Yeah, he's from Louisiana.
Yeah, he comes off as he takes his time, but he was a great quarterback. I'm thinking the way the Bucs built that awesome defense, they probably fleeced a couple. They had Warren Sapp fall because of the drug test.
Well, Simeon Rice, right? Yeah. Wasn't that a trade?
I think it was.
Yeah, because he was in Arizona. I don't think they signed him.
Yeah,
that's another bad trade. Simeon Rice was amazing for the Bucs and a guy who I think should be in the Hall of Fame.
All right, we want to hear your bad trades. The trade that your franchise did that keeps you up at night, much like I'm sure Dallas Maverick fans are going to feel about Luka Doncic for years to come. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. It's Bad Trade Day right here on the Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff Show. EJ filling in for Maggie today. I get to look over the other side of the glass to see Manny and EJ dancing. Now I'm on the same side with EJ. Got Andrew running the board, bopping up and down, Ryan in the back. Kind of everybody getting into it on Bad Trade Thursday here on the Maggie and Perloff Show. It's a good trade having EJ in the seat for Maggie. That's not good because we all miss Maggie.
Of course.
Maggie's awesome, except Manny, who's mad at her because she won't tell him where she's going.
She's in Dagestan.
Sure.
I just love this little subplot to the Maggie and Perloff Show this week that Maggie openly refused to tell Manny where she's going in front of the entire newsroom.
That was wild. I still think that she misunderstood the question.
Nope. I don't think so. All right, let's go to the phone lines. We're talking about bad trades in sports off the Luka Doncic trade. Let's go to Emilio in Arizona, who might have the granddaddy of all the bad trades. Emilio, what do you got?
Hey, guys. I wanted to talk about Babe Ruth being traded from the Red Sox to the Yankees for a mere, what was it, $100,000?
Yeah, that came up last night. Mavs coach Jason Kidd said the Luka trade is being compared to Babe Ruth. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that Babe Ruth was making millions, but again, for $100,000 and then that started the whole curse of the Bambino thing with the Red Sox.
Yeah, it didn't work out well. Thank you, Emilio.
No, not at all.
I think that is the all-time worst trade still because, I mean, there's some bad trades, but when a trade has a curse, that's not good.
No, it's not. And I think when we talk about the worst trades of all time, we almost have to say since Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really hard to top that one, right?
Yeah, I think this Luka trade could end up being the Babe Ruth. No, I don't think so because I don't think he's going to win. I don't know how many did Babe win, 10 in New York? Or a lot.
All of them?
All right, let's go to Matt in New York. Matt, what do you got for bad all-time trades?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, bud.
Yeah, so I'm a Bills fan, and I can recall when we traded Pico Alonso fresh off of an ACL tear straight up for Shady McCoy in his prime.
I love that trade. I love that trade as an Eagles fan.
Oh, yeah. So a couple of seasons later, we break a 20-year playoff curse, and he's basically our bell cow, and Kiko's basically played 11 total games for the Eagles before he's bouncing around the league. So that was definitely a pretty significant trade for us.
Okay, but again, running backs are weird, though, because I think the Eagles were already sort of devaluing the position and didn't want to pay LaShawn McCoy. They were ahead of the curve in a little bit.
Yeah, I just thought, PA kid, kind of like one of the all-time franchise greats.
Yeah,
and it was kind of like I felt like it was a rough look and trade for those guys.
Where's he from originally? He's from the west side.
From Florida, I think.
Oh, Shady's not. Well, he played at Pitt. So, he's not from Western Pennsylvania.
Well, I think he's
thank you, Matt.
From Pennsylvania, but I know he played high school, I believe, in Florida.
I thought he was one of those Western PA kids because of Pitt. Being from Pitt has nothing to do with Philadelphia. Some people think that in Pennsylvania the two are neighbors and they're very far away. Yep. Okay, that was a good one. Let's go to Nadal, our buddy in Dallas. Nadal, was it fun to watch Luka come back, or was that kind of painful as a reminder last night?
Good morning, Perloff. Yeah, EJ, how's it going, bro? Hey, it was fun because first and foremost, after moving from Kansas City to Dallas, I was a Luka fan, and I always will be. It was fun. It really was. And let me tell you the local sentiment down here, and I'll start by saying the local headline in the paper, it said, Mavs fans did not welcome Luka back last night. They welcomed him back home.
Wow.
And I thought that was great. Clever wording. And that's what it was. You saw on TV, standing ovation of 20,000 plus. And how funny and interesting, did you notice how Nico never moved from that tunnel?
Yeah.
Where, but when he was in L.A., when the Mavs played the Lakers in the L.A., what did he do? Courtside, greeting and talking and mingling with the Lakers fan and everything. But at Dallas, no. Yeah, he's a marked man. He literally hired a highly armed security force to guard his home and him. That's how much he's hated here. And by the way, the video tribute, Perloff.
Yeah.
Since I'm your unofficial Dallas field reporter here.
Love it.
The local sentiment is it was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. And Luka crying, those were tears of not because, it's still an open wound.
It's disgusting that you traded him. Not just the video tribute was fine. You didn't find the highlight.
Oh, yeah. No, the tribute itself, in of itself, is fine. It's just that.
Yeah, he didn't want to go.
The idea of doing it, and it's, I don't know. Seeing his lower lip and chin shivering, it was gut-wrenching.
How about this, Nadal? Now that we're talking about this, and you bring up great points about how much. What if he pulls a LeBron going back to Cleveland, and someday Luka returns to Dallas?
With open arms, bro. With open arms. And I'm not even a native of Dallas, but I'll say he'll be welcomed back with open arms.
All right. Thank you, Nadal, our local beat reporter for Dallas. usually on the Cowboys, but we'll take some Mavericks reports.
Yeah, you will not get paid, Nadal, but we appreciate you.
I think you started the show, EJ, with a great point. This trade is so different than a lot of these because Luka didn't necessarily want to leave.
No, that's been very clear. Like any thought that maybe Luka was unhappy or that maybe he was looking for his next destination. everything you saw last night was the contrary, right? It was him seeing this tribute, seeing the love from the Dallas Maverick fans and being moved to tears. And to me, if you're a sports fan, that's what you want. You want your athletes to have the connection to the fan base and to the city that Luka had, which makes this trade all the more dumbfounding, which is like, if this is a guy that was ride or die with you, why would you move him? You traded him for Anthony Davis, who, by the way, is a mercenary. Anthony Davis
Definitely
said, that's all, folks, to New Orleans. When he was about to get, when they were trying to sign him and keep him long term, he quit on the Pelicans. So the fact that they would trade for an older guy who's already shown that he will say sayonara to another city, when you have a young star in his prime who doesn't want to leave your city, doesn't want to leave your organization, it just makes it more ridiculous.
You know what actually adds injury to insult? Insult to injury?
There you go.
One of those.
The second one was good.
There was a great comment by Tim McMahon for ESPN, covers the NBA, covered the Mavericks, wrote a book on the Mavericks, and had to add a chapter because it was supposed to come out right at the time Luka was traded. So he's an insider. He brought up a good point. Last night was the night that Luka Doncic officially became a Laker because their team was there for him. They were so excited to see Luka have a big night. They were propping him up. I don't know what they were like energy-wise before, but there is no doubt he is incorporated that in that team. You saw the love between him and LeBron. Yep. I kind of get that. I thought that was interesting. I think one of the most important things to win an NBA title is everybody plays as a team, and you seem to have that right now with LA.
Yeah, and that's why this Laker team is going to be dangerous. And I thought J.J. Redick, after the game, basically, he said one of his coaches came up to him and said, this is going to be great for our group. He said, us being able to support Luka in this moment and go through this with him is going to really help our team. And I think they could not be more right, because now you look at the Lakers and how they've been playing, and you have Luka Doncic, who it feels he's been up and down with the Lakers. It hasn't been a straight
they're
through
16-10.
Yeah, it hasn't been a straight through line with him. He's had some bad shooting nights. It feels like there was a lot of closure potentially for him last night. And if you get the Luka Doncic that was playing in the playoffs last year next to LeBron James, the sky's the limit. Anything is possible for the Lakers. And you came into the season when they, like you mentioned at a great point earlier in the show, it was Bronny. That was the story of the Lakers season. Was,
oh, my God.
What is Bronny James? There was no talk about championship or what you could do in the playoffs. Playoffs? Are you kidding me? Like what the Nuggets have done to them for the last 2 years? Like, that wasn't a conversation. Now the conversation is entirely different, and they could thank the Dallas Mavericks for that.
So what do you think of the Mavericks? The organization embraced his return. They put T-shirts on seats that said, and I quote, Havala za Vse. Now, Manny, you speak Dagestani, right? Do you know what Havala? No, I'm just kidding. Slovenian. Havala za Vse means.
Yeah. So being the only person who speaks multiple languages on this show, I do believe that means thank you very much.
Close.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you did.
Correct. Thank you so much. You know, the Mavs, it feels like everybody, if you love the dude so much, why'd you trade him?
I'll be honest. That was the one thing about last night that I did not like. And there was some rumors, or not rumors, there was reporting that the Mavs tried to get some of the sponsorship deals that they had through Luka to be a part of last night, and it was Luka's team that had to come out and say, hey, we don't want any of that. Like, you're not going to make money off of you trading him. That's ridiculous. And that was the only thing I didn't like, because what we've seen since Luka left has been a smear campaign. There's no denying that.
Oh, about the hookah and the beer?
Yeah, it's that all we've heard is all these things, because everybody's like, why would you trade Luka? And then all these leaks coming out of, he's not committed. He's no Kobe Bryant. He's fat. He likes hookah. He's drinking too much beer. Like, they have done everything they could to make people non-believe. We had a caller earlier today say, you guys are hyping up Luka too much. He's too fat and he smokes too much. Yeah. Like, this guy is a 5-time All-NBA player. He's been top 5 in MVP voting. He took them to the finals, took them to the Western Conference Finals. Like, this guy profiles as a legend. And, like, the Mavs have done everything they could to try to make him look bad since he left. Now you come back and let's give out T-shirts and let's say, oh, how much we love you. It doesn't make any sense.
There's clearly different sides of the organization.
Sure.
That there's Nico in the basketball side, the business side probably wanted nothing to do with this deal. The funny thing is they let this leak that he's doing a hookah and beer, and most of the young guys around this building were like, yes, that was a big positive for Luka.
It makes him look like more of a
awesome
baller. Because, like, this guy is drinking beer and hookah, and he's putting up 40 on the Celtics and on these teams that can't stop him. You're like, how is he doing it?
As a resident young person of the show, that's awesome. That was rad.
With the hookah thing?
Oh, yeah.
Luka also, Larry Bird drank beer, by the way. Luka looked skinny last night. There's no doubt he's getting into the fitness culture of LA, Southern California.
I think the fitness culture of LeBron, too.
Yeah, I got to tell you one thing. You do not want Luka to be too skinny. I'm going to tell you right now,
Why
his
is that?
greatest strength is he is one strong dude.
I agree.
He has got a base. He needs the fitness to be able to last through these 7-game series, but I don't want to see him get ripped. I mean, he has no definition. He's like country strong, like LeBron, not LeBron, like Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Larry Bird was skinny and I don't think he ever lifted weights, but he was as strong as anyone fighting for a ball.
Jokic, too. He's got that country strong vibes as well.
Yeah, and I mean, he's gotten skinny and it's helped, but I don't want. Luka doesn't need to look like LeBron to be a great player. He's got something else going on.
No, not at all. Yeah, he's a tank. I mean, that's one of the most underrated parts of Luka. Why he's so hard to guard.
That's why you can't get to his dribble.
Right, because he's slow, but it doesn't matter because he can just keep you on his hip, and you're not getting past him. Like you're just not going to be able to stop him because he can just move right through you. He's so strong, and I don't think he's a guy where you're going to say, okay, he needs to be playing at 215. He's always going to be 230, 235, 240, but you just want it to be not so doughy, right? You want it to be a lot more compact so that he's not dealing with the soft tissue injuries he's dealing with. He had a calf earlier this year. He had a knee and calf thing during the playoffs last year, which is why it was so remarkable he was playing so well. He's been dealing with these kind of injuries. You think, okay, you get in a little better shape. You won't deal with that.
You're getting way too scientific. I just want the dude to keep doing the hookah and the beer thing. All right, we got headlines with Andrew Bogusch, of course, who is a huge fan of. Are you a huge fan of? You ever partaken in the hookah, the beer?
Beer, yes. Hookah, no.
Okay.
And certainly not together.
Come on, man.
A quick reminder.
A night out on Dykeman with us.
Yeah, Bogues, you feel like you'd have a great time. I would be a total buzzkill. You don't want me anywhere near that. But first of all, the germs of the hookah, and because I've seen people
you'll get
share
past that.
I would love to see Manny take Bogusch to Dykeman. Do some hookah.
Explain what's Dykeman.
So Dykeman is uptown New York. It's a very heavily Dominican, Caribbean neighborhood, and it's a lively party, awesome neighborhood, and you do a great night in Dykeman in the summer. You go out, do some hookah, drinks a little bit, then go to the games. Dykeman's become kind of the new Rucker Park here in New York. I played at Dykeman when I was young as a kid, and it's a lively atmosphere. NBA players come out and play sometimes. Yeah. I think Bogusch and Manny on a guy's trip to Dykeman would be awesome.
But
let's go, roommates. I'll be Jalen. I'll be Josh Hart. You'll be Jalen Brunson.
Well, I mean, you didn't even have to say that. That was given.
Right. A reminder, a quick one, that Jason Kidd did not get traded to the Lakers alongside Luka. Kidd is still the Mavs head coach.
It was incredible. The fans were great. The tribute was great. Luka's performance was great. It was great.
Kidd might have enjoyed Luka's return to Dallas a little too much. His team lost this game 112-97 with Luka hanging a season-high tying 45 points on the Mavs, with those fans also cheering almost every Luka basket. And by the way, the NBA did Luka a solid yesterday, rescinding the second tech he got in Oklahoma City, the one where he said he was yelling at a fan, not the officials. Last night's
JT Orr, by the way.
Lakers win clinched them a top 6 seed, so that's no play-in. They remain third this morning in the West, a 1-game lead on the Nuggets, who won their first game since firing Michael Malone, 124-116 in Sacramento.
Fashion question for all people here. Do you guys like Jason Kidd's clear glasses? I can't even watch a Mavs game without commenting on them. They're probably $2,000 glasses. I love them.
I love them. I want a pair. My wife has told me not to get them.
I have a pair of clear glasses.
Yeah.
But I have a pair. I just never wear them.
Yeah,
it didn't work for me.
Yeah, my wife does not think I would look good in them either.
Yeah, I think you might. Andrew Bogusch, if you're listening on radio, is a doppelganger, the exact identical twin of Quinn Ewers.
Who I'm not sure has clear glasses at all, let alone clear frames.
Well, he's young. He doesn't need them yet.
That's true. I didn't have glasses at 23.
Yes. And you are not a third-round pick. You're a first-round pick, Bogusch.
Aren't you sweet?
That's nice.
Was that Manny laughing?
Yeah.
Great. No. Great to hear from you. The Warriors losing at the buzzer last night at home to the Spurs, 114-111. That drops Golden State into the play-in the 7th spot for the moment. The Suns eliminated from all contention with a 125-112 home loss to the Thunder. The Magic clinched number 7 in the East with a 96-76 win over Celtic backups, and the Bulls handled the Heat 119-111 for a 1-game lead on Miami for 9th in the East. Today's draft visits include Shedeur Sanders in Pittsburgh and Abdul Carter with the Giants. Carter expected to meet with the Patriots on Monday. Then he will have visited all the top 4 teams in the draft and apparently has no other pre-draft visits scheduled.
If you want to watch a fun defensive lineman edge YouTube video, watch 3 minutes of Abdul Carter just killing Big Ten quarterbacks. He is fast and strong, and I think anyone's going to have trouble passing on him.
Yeah, he is good enough for the Giants, who have needed a quarterback for forever, to not take Shedeur Sanders.
Only a couple issues: foot issue, shoulder injury. That's a bit of a concern. But he hasn't run his 40 yet. He promised he would run on March 28th, I believe, was Penn State's pro day. Did not run. Maybe that's the only flaw I can see.
The Milwaukee Brewers lost their first 4 games this season. They are 7-1 since after last night's 17-2 rout at Coors Field. Jackson Chourio, a homer and 5 RBI. The Blue Jays 2-1 winners in 11 at Fenway.
Good.
And this is how the Guardians beat the White Sox 3-2.
Ground ball in the hole. It'll get through. Here comes the tying run. Throw to the plate by Quan. He pulled up. He's going to be out and home. And the game is over. The Guardians will win by 1. I don't know what in the world happened. But Mike Tauchman never made it home. He got about halfway between third and home and just couldn't get there.
That's from Cleveland TV. When I first watched it, I thought Tauchman did what I used to do when I blew a layup in basketball, pretend I hurt my ankle.
So every time you would drive?
Like 3 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
I made 3 out of 10 on a good day. So that's 7 times I sprained my ankle.
You went to the ankle? Why don't you just do what everyone does and do, my palms were sweaty?
No,
I do have jump shots all the time.
Jump shots, fine.
Yeah, but even layups too. You could be you wipe your hands on your shorts, be like, that was clearly my hands are sweaty. That's why.
No, I went next level. Like I blew my Achilles on the way up for the lay-in. That's why it didn't go in.
And then when the MRI showed that you had an Achilles that was fully intact,
we had a lot of MRIs. My mom got really angry.
Okay.
I saw Jackson Hayes got stripped last night and was doing the shaking his hand thing down the court, showing the official that he got hit in the hand.
You guys remember when Randy Moss beat Darrell Revis deep in a game and Revis pulled his hamstring up at the end, and Randy one-handed it, and then that became a whole thing. And Randy thought he was faking the injury.
Oh. But what did happen to this?
So this Mike Tauchman, one-time Yankee, right?
That's right.
He was injured, just came back from this, and he seemed to, as he's rounding third, something pops in his right leg, hamstring maybe. So he was legit hurt. That's why
it cost him the game.
That's why he didn't score. And that's how they lose 3-2.
Yeah, bottom of the 9th inning, 2 outs, and you get hurt.
I'm watching this play. This was kind of a questionable send anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if he was going to be safe if he could have run full speed all the way. And it would have been the last out of the game regardless. But yeah, he definitely, by the time he's losing a leg on the way home, he's not scoring.
I think the third base coach, they're going to talk to him. Because, if he's already battling something, and I just watched the play. I mean, this was going to be bang, bang. There's no way this was an obvious send. And it's to end the game. It's, 2 outs. Why would you send him there?
He's not exactly Ichiro Suzuki.
Right.
And by the way, round 1 of the Masters is about 90 minutes old right now, and the lead is 2 under par. 3 golfers are there right now, very early in this first round. One of them is Zach Johnson. Scotty Scheffler, who won last year, tees off in about 35 minutes from right now.
Do any of the golfers that I sprinkled some money on, are any of them doing well?
You have to run down all 12 of them again.
I got Neiman, I got Hovland, I got someone named Robert McIntyre, just because I don't know much about him. Lucas Glover, Phil Mickelson at like 1,001.
Mickelson's not started yet.
Brian Harmon, who I saw do very well in a tournament a couple weeks ago, and Wyndham Clark is 80-1. Put a buck on him. Tell you guys, you got to root for my guys. We're going to win breakfast. And I put for you, Bogusch, because I know you didn't bet on this. Will Zalatoris, $5. 55-1. We're getting more than breakfast.
All right, let's roll.
We're getting Manny a car.
This sport needs something.
Well, I mean, I think
who are these guys?
I think it's no. I was going long shot. I mean, this tournament is 1,000% about Rory McIlroy because he's been on fire all winter into spring, and I know Scheffler is a big name too. But I think this is Rory. Can you just picture the drama? Rory's never won there. 18th hole. You know what could happen. He has a putt to win it. Will he be able to make it? That would be great.
Right.
That'd be great drama.
That's what we want to see. Like for me, Masters is all about Sunday. Like I've followed through the first 2-3 days. Sundays where we want to see, and we've seen Rory have some just devastating collapses lately. So everyone's running to him because he's played well. That kind of worries me. It's like, where is his head at?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I'll watch all the days at the Masters, and of course. Do you guys know what's going on in the Masters rap? That guy down in Tennessee. I think it's Tennessee. Do you guys know
a Masters rap? It's like a song.
Yeah. the guy for the Ringer, Chris Vernon, I think, does a rap every year. What's going on at the Masters?
I know who Chris Vernon is. I don't know what this part of him is, though.
He makes up a rap. It's unbelievable. I think it's him. I apologize because it's amazing. He makes up a rap that sums up the leaderboard every year. It is, and there's a mascot dancing in the background. You've never seen it. Doesn't ring a bell. Oh, it's going to be a treat for you.
According to the chat, Kaplan is a big fan of that.
It's going to be a treat for you tomorrow, Andrew Bogusch.
He has one every day.
Every day of the. I don't know if his show is on every day. Chris Vernon, wildly talented, used to be at the Ringer. I'm not sure if he's still there. Has his own show, and it is the funniest thing you'll ever hear in your life.
I see something. Grind City Media maybe is where he's at now.
Yeah, it's called What's Going On in Augusta, not What's Going On in the Masters. It's fantastic. We'll play it tomorrow. It's a rap. Somehow he'll rhyme like Zalatoris with something. It's
yeah, Shough seems like a hard one.
Yeah. He'll rhyme DeChambeau with. I have no idea why, but it's incredible. It's the best part of the Masters. All right, coming up, more bad trades, but we also have a list that's causing a lot of controversy here. It's our friend Andy Staples at On3, renowned college football writer, ranks the top 10 quarterbacks for next college football season, and there is one notable guy who slid. We'll get into that next. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Perloff Show. EJ sitting in for Maggie, who is on a well-deserved vacation. So yesterday, a list came out. It's kind of list season, at least for football. Andy Staples, great college football writer, former co-worker of mine at Sports Illustrated, good friend, really smart when it comes to college football. He has his top 10 quarterbacks for next season in college football. Now, the list caused a lot of controversy online, as you'd expect with this kind of list. It wasn't necessarily who had a number one. Let's just go through it here. He had Florida quarterback DJ Lagway, who I don't think he's even turned 19 yet. Former number one overall recruit, super stud, at number one. A lot of people didn't agree with that. EJ, I think you're a little dubious.
Yeah.
Feels high.
Good freshman year, but still a young player. I don't know about that.
He is the truth, though. I'm a big DJ Lagway fan. Number two, South Carolina's Lenora Sellers. Again, I mean, he's fantastic running, and he's had some big wins last year. Feels a bit high. Cade Klubnik, number three, Clemson. Now, here's where you get really controversial. He has Arch Manning at number four, and a lot of people on social media are like, how can you put Arch at number four? But, EJ, I think you could see that.
Yeah, 4 is fine. I think for me, the big issue was he kind of took two guys that a little more unproven. Like, I mean, Lagway is very unproven.
Yep.
And Sellers, awesome athlete, awesome runner. But in the best game South Carolina had, it wasn't like they scored a bunch of points. They were kind of a defensive team.
Yeah.
And he showed some clutchability. That Clemson win was awesome on the road. But again, that was like them hanging around and him kind of doing a little mini Vince Young at the end of that game to win. I would go with more of the pocket passers. So to me, like Klubnik, Nussmeier.
Yeah.
I think even someone like John Mateer, who's shown that he could be a dual threat.
Yeah.
He's a little bit more of a better passer than I think Sellers is. I would have had those guys a lot higher. Were you surprised that Drew Aller came in at 7?
Well, Drew Aller, another former number one overall recruit, I'm not that surprised. Honestly, two names who I think will end up higher than they are. I think Sam Levitt, number 8, will end up higher. I think I heard a rumor that the NFL is in love with Sam Levitt. We saw him last year at Arizona State. I think he's draft eligible this year, so we'll see. And then number 9, Darian Mensah, a name that people do not know, but the market spoke this offseason. Got an $8 million deal from Duke. He is going to be fire. And then Carson Beck at 10. So you're a Miami Hurricanes fan.
Yeah.
Where do you see Carson Beck realistically fitting into this list?
Yeah,
I think he's a bum. He's an absolute bum.
Oh, Jesus. I thought Carson Beck should have been a lot higher, right?
Because give me the names who you easily passing him over.
I think he's better than Levitt. I'm not as high on Levitt as you are.
Yes.
I think he is better than Aller. And Mateer is tough.
Mateer's a bit of an unknown.
I wanted Mateer to be a Miami Hurricane, so it's kind of hard for me to say.
Follow Cam Ward.
I think he could have been in the 6 or 7 range. Because this is a guy at the end of the day did almost win an SEC, did win the SEC last year, even though he didn't finish that game. Like, he's won a lot of games, and he has his flaws. He gets turnover prone. I get that. But he has done a lot in college football. I think for him to be ranked so low behind guys who we haven't seen him much from Arch Manning or DJ Lagway. And Mateer, you said, is kind of an unknown coming from Washington State.
Yeah.
Like, this guy played at Georgia. This guy was playing. We saw him in big-time games. And yes, sometimes he didn't play well. But he had some big games, too.
But come on.
We can't act like every game he was throwing 3 picks. That's
but
not
you
true.
can't ignore there's this sort of aura around Carson Beck, some of the negative body language. Yeah. There's a lot about Carson Beck that people just don't like.
Yeah. No, I get it. And some of that, he's had a whole situation in his personal life that has been high profile as soon as he got to Miami. So that like he's had some issues. I get that. But I'm just talking about the production and what we've seen over the course of several years.
Yep.
In terms of just pure quarterback play, I think 10 was a little low. Our friend Bud Elliott had him, didn't have him in the top 10, which I thought was surprising as well.
I'm looking at Heisman odds, by the way, another indicator. We're running out of time. I just want to get in some of these. They have Arch Manning's number 1, Garrett Nussmeier's number 2, Klubnik's 3, Jeremiah Smith number 4. See, I like that. Then Drew Aller. Then Nico Iamaleava, not on that list.
Another guy who,
Tennessee,
some of these guys I think are cursed with us seeing them too much. I think we saw so much of Nico last year. We've seen so much of Carson Beck. Then now we're taking kind of like the Arch Manning's a little bit of an unknown, right? Lagway, a little bit of an unknown. Mateer, unknown. So sometimes we're kind of falling in love with those guys. When the guys who have played a lot in big-time situations, we've seen their highs and their lows.
Right.
We're kind of leaning on the negative.
No Dylan Raiola on this list, too, in Nebraska.
No Avery Johnson from Kansas State, who I thought definitely would have made the list.
And Julian Sayin, Ohio State. That is, if he gets a starting job, he's a big-time recruit driving a Ferrari. All right. Thank you for all the calls today. That was great. Big thanks, of course, Andrew Kaplan. Andrew
Garpachi.
Thanks to the listeners. Maggie Perloff Show.